And we are live. Hey, welcome to episode 5, I think it is. I can remember 4, 5, 5. I think it's something like that. Have I messed up the title yet again? Probably. Shit. Well, it wouldn't be the Operation Grow Show if that didn't happen. So, yeah. Episode 5, season 4. That's the one. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been a stormy day here, that's for sure. So I hope everything's cool. Everybody else is. The tail end of something coming through, lots of wind, lots of rain. But yeah, no, otherwise good. So how's everybody else doing? Let's see who's in the house tonight. We've got Lefty. How are you doing there, sir? Just as you take a mouthful, perfect timing.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Like we were talking about before the show started, just in the middle of tearing apart my house, getting ready to move next weekend, and man, just not used to having this kind of clutter around, and it's driving me crazy. But other than that, I'm doing good. Plants are wanting to move as well. They have outgrown their space and they are in beast mode. So
Yeah.
next weekend after I get moved, I will be flipping them to flower and be praying to God that I have enough space to finish. They've taken off, man. I figured out that new millennium for sure, I think.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So 2 grows. Well, there we go. That's testament, at least you got to run it more than once. First time rounds, the feel it out. Second time round is starting to dial it in.
Also, this time around, I'm going to be using Shine.
Okay.
So, I fed yesterday and just listening to what Roscoe Jeff has to say about the Shine. If you start it like a week before you flip flower, it will slow down your stretch. So I added it to my feed yesterday. Being that I'm going to flip to flower next week, so I'll have a good worth of feeding for the Shine going into flower, and then I'll run that through flower. I can't remember. I'll have to check into it, but I don't remember. I think you should stop at like week 5 with the Shine.
I can't recall. And then how are you noticing the difference with the plants in terms of, like height differences or anything like that?
They blew right through that super crop. I super cropped that one plant and they blew right through it. I might have to do it again when I flip the flower. I mean, they've grown 8 inches, 9 inches from where I super cropped them the other day. That was what, a week ago?
Yeah, about a week ago, I'd say. Yeah. And then in terms of the other ones, the ones that have been just popped and that, relative height, they're all sort of sticking around the same. Interesting.
Yeah, they're just taking whatever I'm throwing at them and saying, fuck you, and I'm going to keep growing.
Yeah, because I know the mystery grower can report that definitely the super crop one, if you look across them, the super crop one is the shorter of the lot. In fact, little to no difference in the height between the ones that were popped and the ones that was left alone. Or one, and they popped a bunch of them. But yeah, no, you can definitely apparently see the super crop one in amongst the group. It's got more colas popping up as well. There's definitely just a big primary cola on all the others.
Yeah, you get those bottoms that come up through. You get that light from that initial super crop, but like I said, it grew so damn fast. It just ate up all that light as soon as I took back off.
Yeah. And Keith, sir, how are you doing? Looking very sailory there. Ooh, our captain.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, everything's going great, man. I got a new logo, and I've got some new T-shirts. So that's a lot of fun. I really like the new logo.
Where can we get your T-shirts?
Teespring.
At your website or Teespring, yeah.
Teespring.com/black-sale-market.
All right. Well, if you post the link up in our chat here, I'll pop it over. Or I don't know. I think you might be in moderation.
Yeah, I'll pull it up in a second here. I want to show you guys the design too. I think it's pretty fucking dope. But yeah, other than that, man, everything's going great in the garden. I did like 2 rounds of cloning basically recently, and the first time I used an arrow cloner and I got kind of decent results. I was hoping they would be better. So then I tried a humidity dome with Root Riot cubes. And it seems to be kind of the same either way. What I found is that faster is better. The ones that rooted in like 7 days and I got them the hell out and got them planted as soon as possible. They stayed very healthy. But then from like day 8 to like 13, all of my clones just slowly started to like yellow up and die. I mean, I only lost one of them, but the longer they stayed in the tray or in the arrow cloner, the worse they got. So I thought that was really interesting. I'm going to try using some aloe. I'm trying to avoid using Clonex gel because I have heard reports that you can find trace amounts of it even in the final product. I don't know if that's a myth or not, or if anybody wants to weigh in on it, but
I can't comment on that. No.
And then other than that, my orange gasm is in week 8 and is just getting fatter and frostier and like.
That's gonna be, that's looking like a monster. And I don't know. I mean, it's a pity we don't have Tyler on today because I mean, like he ran it to 80 days, and it almost looks like, I mean, 80 days dead. I think he did it too, didn't he?
I think he said he pulled it at 79.
79. Okay, 79.
Yeah, I ran mine 73, and they easily could have went another week, if not 2. I mean, don't be afraid to run these things 11 weeks and even look at it at that point and look at it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, certainly that's where it, and then it was running it on just water for at least 3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah. Mm-hmm. Just ran it on water for 3 weeks.
Yeah, we all started flushing at the same time, and I pulled mine a week before he pulled his, so he had at least a 3-week flush on that.
Yeah. And then if anybody is, Keith's merch, Lefty, you're doing a giveaway, aren't you, at the moment? Or is it, which one is it, on Instagram or is it on
Instagram? Irregardless, I was trying to hit 420 followers on Instagram, and it's been like fucking pulling teeth. It's been a month, I believe now.
You social media whore.
Yeah, I think I'm 15 followers away from 420. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a post this week, and I'm going to give away the pack. 420 followers or not, I'll give away the pack next week, Saturday, on the show. I'll do the drawing on the show next Saturday.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what,
15 people is manageable. I think we can
15. I mean, there's 22. I mean, I tell you what, if it doesn't get to 420 by next Saturday, tune in for the live giveaway of a pack of orange gasm seeds. These are now becoming like hen's teeth, so look out for it. It's hot property. Otherwise, go and follow at Lefty's Farm. Is it?
Yep, at Lefty's Farm on IG. All you got to do is post up a number, tag a couple of buddies, be following me, and you might win a pack of orange gasm.
There you go.
Bro, I'll tell you what, Lefty. I've spent years of like hard work and hundreds of posts getting up to like almost 5,000 followers now, and you'll see some girl dancing in a bikini, and she's got like 2.5 million followers, and it's just like, fuck the world, man. Come on.
If you were dancing in a bikini under your lights, you'd also probably get 2 million views. Maybe not the kind of views you want.
Not the ones you want.
I'm not real.
You keep that sailor's outfit on, easily hit 2 million views.
I'm not real big on trying to get followers. I really, don't mind how many followers I have. I just thought it was a good number and a good opportunity to give away a pack of orange gasm.
Yeah. And you're then moving on to you, Raptor. I'm moving down the screen on how it is here. I don't think it's how it's on the video over there. How are you doing, Raptor?
Yeah. It's all mixed up for me. I'm the captain in all of this. I'm at the top. But yeah, I'm doing well. It's 1 p.m. over here on the West Coast, down here in Southern California. Looking a little gray, but I don't mind. I can actually go out and do some gardening in the backyard and take care of a lot of stuff. It's been way too hot to do that over the last couple of weeks, so I'm excited for that. I'm also excited to be able to go hiking more, and I want to get at least start off with 5 hours a week and then 10 hours a week and just like build myself up. And yeah, I used to hike all the time when I was a kid, but just been staying inside more and more. Lots of projects been going on, and I want to get out there and clear my mind and just not really get, it's not like if I'm waiting for like birds and squirrels to come up to me and start like a little musical thing going down. But
They
it's nice
just stand still long
yeah.
enough. Yeah, squirrel.
Yeah. Okay, just do the duet. Yeah, do the duet with the little bird. Yeah, do it with the bird and the squirrel. Very cute. Just
Yeah.
stay there. Uh, but yeah, it's really nice when I go out there. Not really a spiritual person, but I do get clear-mindedness when I go out there, and I don't even have to run or anything or like have a particularly hard trail to hike, but it's really nice. Also been working on some agar plates, just setting them up as yeah. Here's the ones that you were watching last night.
As GMF was lucky enough to remember the number like that.
Yeah. We just put a number out there, and he's for sure gonna ingest it all. And it's like, okay, store that for 2020, 10/24. Okay, put that in the archive. We're good. Like I imagine him just like shrinking himself down into like this giant like office room with all of these files everywhere. It's like, okay. There's a bunch of little GMFs running around. There's a secretary GMF. There's a manager GMF. A leather
The
GMF
DMT
just coordinating everything.
experience.
Yeah.
And speaking
So
of
yeah, I
which,
was just GMF. How you doing?
how you doing there, sir? Whoop.
Oh, not too bad. I was going to show you guys what I was up to last night. I knocked down, I had to stay up to like 6 a.m. because I needed to knock this deep chunk down. So I had it in the dryer for today. So I'm a very lazy trimmer, as you can see. I just try to trim it enough that way I can get it in the dryer, and then when I go to smoke it, I'll knock off all those extra leaves if I want to, and put them in an edible or something.
Yeah. So you're not making well, I'm disappointed. You're not making another puck.
Honestly, I was busy last night. I thought about it. I might just take a bunch out of that dryer that's coming out, but
It's
I kind of want to.
We know you're scared.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's why I got a big chew of it right now in my lip.
Oh.
Well, I just wanted to start the day that way and see what it was like on a fresh head.
Yeah.
GMF, dude, I wanted to ask you how that last one treated you, man. What was the rest of your day like?
The last time I chewed on some of it, it was a very trippy day. Like it had a lot of visuals. It had a lot of body effect. Like, yeah, I caught some little halos around stuff. So it was honestly, I'm enjoying the shit out of it. This is something I think I'm going to do consistently now from now on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
I got to make a little setup so I can do a cob every time I knock down a plant. I just wasn't ready for it last night, but this has only been in the dryer for 8 hours. So, and it's 96 hours total. So I could still chuck that into a cob if I want to.
Yeah. Well, Painted Lady is saying that she's got her popcorn ready for round 2 of Fear Factor. So chug.
So we've mailed this mystery white liquid to you, Genetic Memory Farms, and you have to take it all, and within 5 seconds, don't worry about the viscosity. Just it's perfectly fine. It'll go down just fine.
Unfortunately, Raptor, you have not earned that level of trust yet.
Oh dear. No, excellent, man. Excellent. Yeah, over here it's been some horrible storms blowing in. Had a nice day out fly fishing yesterday. It was a day of fishing, not catching fish, but it was fun nonetheless. Arrived, nice sunny day, pissed it down for the entire time that we were fishing, pretty much. As we pack up to go, bright sunny day again. It's like, fuck you. I must have pissed somebody off somewhere at some point. Damn it. Yeah, so otherwise on that front with the plants, they're going to be flipped next week, I believe. Yeah, that's the end of the month. Yeah, that's what we said. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be flipping next week. I don't know where Tyler's at with his. No, if Underground has plants.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, well, season 4 is kind of the filler one. We'll get it back into our stride on season 5. Everything everybody just needs. This is just the
and speaking of that, where's everybody at with the breeding project? I know this isn't the breeding show, but I think a lot.
No, we can quietly talk about it.
I think a lot of the people who are involved are actually in here today. Everybody's starting at different points. Kind of, I'm gonna be starting here in probably about a week and a half.
Yeah.
I know everybody is kind of at different points. People have projects, working on projects, in the middle of projects. So I don't know. I was just kind of thinking, how we gonna do this?
Well, it's really just more to record and to document the whole, each person's, I guess, process through it. But because everybody is at slightly different stages, there's that good ability to exchange information. Like, okay, this is what I did at that point. What did you do? And okay, that's how I went about doing it, etc., etc. And a lot of it right now is everybody's at the point where it's getting things going and growing stuff out to spot the traits that you're looking for to go, right, that's what I need to aim on. That's what I need to pick on and take forward. It is this is not an overnight, as we know. It's certainly not going to be an overnight process. This is a slow,
it's going to be interesting,
methodical process.
We're all looking for different things.
Yeah.
So we're all going to take different routes to get to different things, and we're probably going to call them different things. So it'll be just interesting kind of, because I'm going to do like a cross, do a selection, and then a reversal, or, an S1, and then, take it down the line from there. Where, instead of doing like a true line breeding, where you go side by side, work, bring it back together as a true F1 hybrid. Unless you're really working with like land race, it's kind of hard to do that because you're going to bring in so many of the parents when you start working on things.
Well, that's where, if you had regular seeds, okay, so if you take the thing is, if you had regular seeds from a line, so, orange gasm regular seeds, just to use it as an example, not to say this is the case by any, so just purely for the name's sake, orange gasm, strawberry cough, there we go. If you had regular seeds of that and you bred it and then you planted out like every single one that came from that cross and looked at the ratio of the phenotypes, you could work out how far down the line you were in terms of, okay, I'm at the F2, F3, F4 sort of stages, and because it's purely down to what the kind of the ratios that are expressed, but it has to be within that group crossed with itself. If you cross it with something outside, again, if you looked at the ratios, you'd kind of get an idea of, I guess, how close they were. There would be bits that would turn up and go, okay, so, there's a good chance that there's a high proportion of these phenotypes in this, if you grew out 1,000 plants and you found the little clusters and you put them all together, you'd have one cluster that was quite a bit bigger than all the others. And you go, okay, so that's probably going to show up. Anything that I do with that's probably going to be the dominant, that's the dominant gene sort of pool showing up over there.
Right. Well, I definitely know what traits I want. So, if I were to take it past the F1 stage, I'd be opening up grandparents and it'd be a mess. And I'd be like, I'd be shooting myself in the foot because I'd have to backtrack immediately.
Yeah. But that might be, that's all part of the, again, that might be, hey, we don't know until we get there. It's going to be fun. Hey, Duckweed, how you doing, buddy?
Yo, what's up, guys?
All good.
So yeah, it's been a pretty rainy fucking few days by me.
There'll be some serious rain as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we're in for some more rains over the next couple of days. Thank God I have nothing outside flowering. Yeah. Other than that, as far as the breeding program goes, I think I am probably the only one who is working with some crazy stuff. You guys may have heard me say it over and over a couple of times on either Fumi's channel or even here, with regards to the cross that I made with the photo landrace
Mm-hmm.
cross with auto strawberry cough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what I did with that was I stressed the landrace female to produce pollen and cross with the strawberry cough auto. The problem I may run into is that all those seeds will be feminized, so I definitely need to reintroduce or introduce a male into there. Because I'm a kind of gassy person, I may introduce a male with some sort of gassy background to hopefully bring that gas into the cough. And probably the idea of crossing it with a landrace was to get that more sativa type structure instead of the heavy indicas, short stumpy kind of thing or something like huge and tall, kind of like I think Rasta Jeff's genetics gets pretty tall. So yeah, I have three beans going. I took some clones about 2 weeks ago. Today, actually, I started to see roots on the three of them. So I have them in rockwool cubes. So I'll probably transplant those into soil over today or tomorrow, and then straight to flower just to make sure those three are female. And yeah, probably pop another tree. Because it didn't get much seeds from the cross though, because the strawberry cough was stunned, so it remained small, and therefore I only got like about 25 seeds. So it's not like this whole huge, massive, you know. But
you don't have a res scenario where
oh no, definitely
seeds for a lifetime.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So now you don't have. So I'm assuming that the auto was feminized that you started with, and so you only had it just. And obviously that's a one hit wonder.
Yeah, exactly.
Which again is the other interesting challenge of breeding with autos is you run into the one hit. Well, especially if on the first, if it's really, but I think it might be quite recessive. So what you might find is actually that first generation that comes out is probably likely to be more on the photo period side still than on the auto side still. Well, it'll be, one way to find out is to grow it out. Because if that is the case, then keep one of those. It's almost like the male that you can stress every now and then to get pollen from, because that would help. 50% of that pollen mix going out would have more of that auto line in it. I mean, you're going to be reading like this pure feminized auto line, which should be quite interesting.
Yeah, I guess I actually I was trying to do some S1 autos, but I think the spray that I was using, I believe the issue was the ppm is too low on that spray, because I started to pull pollens and the sacs are empty.
Okay.
So it's either the ppm on the spray is too low. When I checked it, it was like about 20 or 22 ppm, and the or I didn't start the application on the auto in time, because when I was doing some research, they would say you usually dab the spots or spray like from week 5 from seed. But by the time I got my hands on the spray, I was done already, just starting to go into flower. So what I did was I took one of the lower branches that didn't even start to pre-flower just yet. I started to work on that with the spray, and it definitely developed pollen sacs, and they're getting pretty big and pretty nice. But when I pull them and put them to dry, empty.
Nice. Well, lesson.
So
a lesson learned. Nice kind of.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be switching over to colloidal silver STS. Because I have friends who use colloidal and they have really great success with it.
I've
That's
never
on
messed around
photos,
with
though.
it.
They use it on photos though. I'm the only one out of the bunch of us that's trying on photos.
Yeah, I wonder if, I mean, it'd be interesting. Has anybody else played around with reversing plants? Well, not reversing, but okay, triggering the survival response, sexing themselves. No, I've never done it.
I think Aussie does a lot of S1s and S2s and things.
Have you done it, Lefty?
I haven't done it yet. I will be doing it with the breeding project, but I won't be doing it I won't be stressing it to reverse. I'll be using reversal spray. I'm gonna be using Hybridtech. I'm gonna use Hybridtech's reversal spray.
Okay. I use Teresia's mist or something like that. So I got it on Amazon. It's like a off kind of spur the moment buy. Didn't work. Probably won't use it again. So yeah.
I've been wanting to do some work with some autos too, but this project came up and I decided to work with photos. So
Yeah, I think it's definitely easier to breed in photos. Well, not breed in photos, but it's definitely easier using regular seeds as opposed to trying to flip or reverse females. But yeah.
No, excellent. And JMF, you busy tinkering around with a few bits and pieces, aren't you? Were you going to say something, Keith? You look like you're about to say something there, or is that just a Zoom moment?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, man. I wasn't gonna say anything. I'm just doing dabs and making weird faces, I guess.
No, that's right. What are you dabbing on?
A couple of things, man. I'm gonna start getting into some of these green dot extracts because that's what Rasa Jeff is always going on about. But aside from green dot, I think probably the Apothecary makes the best concentrates in Denver. This is what Tanasi smokes on all the time, so I usually end up picking some up too. But right now it's the Lemonberry Kush batter.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's usually really nice. I really like the batters. They're super terpy. They get me really fucking high. And then at the beginning of the show, I was smoking on some of my Sour Maui. Some of that. I don't know how to describe this one. It's like very sour, like tropical fruit. Real zippy sativa, man. First thing in the morning with my cup of coffee, and then I'm off to the fucking races, dude.
I got some zippy for you.
No. And so GMF, your plants, but also how's it going with the cob there? Have you've smoked the cob now? Has it been dry enough to smoke? Has it reached that point where it's been dry enough to smoke?
Well, first, how's that
Absolutely.
dip? Let's talk about what he's using.
Yeah, right now I've been updating in chat. So about 20 minutes in, I pulled a muscle in my back the other day carrying rock salt. So 20 minutes in on a fresh head, I'm already starting to get cotton mouth, and I can feel my cheeks drying out, and then the pain in my back is now less. Like it's not gone, but I can move my arms now a little easier. Like I'm not wincing in pain. So 15, 20 minutes seems to be about the active window when it starts kicking in as far as having a little piece in your chaw. I am wondering, though, if the warm coffee I'm drinking is making it go faster. But so far, man, honestly, this is something I might do all the time out in public now, just as a way to be out in public and, be discreet. I think it's well worth it. I mean, it looks like hell, but the smell and the flavor is well worth it. And as far as smokability, now that it's at a proper level of dryness, it is terribly smooth. Like The bongs last a little longer because of the density, but if you roll it in a joint, it burns fantastic. It's nice and smooth. The ash left over is very, very, it's white and powdery, or just gray and powdery. There's no structure to it. So yeah, now that it's gotten, I think it was a little better to chew on when it was a little bit more moist. There was a little bit more fruit flavor to it. Now that it's dried, you don't really get so much of that fruit flavor, but there's also no chlorophyll bitterness at all too. It's nothing unpleasant. Like, even chewing tobacco has a very, very strong, flavor most people can't get around. But this doesn't really have an offensive flavor to it. There's nothing biting. There's nothing bitter. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is something now that, I've learned it from Pete. I'm just going to keep doing it.
What is the flavor?
Do you spit or swallow?
Oh, this? Swallow. Obviously. You're not going to want to spit any of this out.
I'm not a fucking quitter here.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
I knew a girl back in
Do
high
you
school.
show off and goggle?
Yeah, she was the only one who had the nuts to be able to like actually swallow all her dip spit. Like she enjoyed that fucking crazy nicotine buzz. But
Jeez.
yeah, she was nuts. I
Savages.
liked her though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
But no, I think this is one of those things where, and again, the piece I'm using is ridiculously small. I mean, ridiculously small. This is efficient. It's not taking much to get a good buzz on. The other day when I did it, it was twice the size.
Okay, so how long does it take before you start to feel any effects, and how long do you chew
About 20 minutes, 15,
How
20
long?
minutes.
How long do you keep it in your mouth for?
Well, the other day I pulled it out because it started getting kind of heavy. Like I had shit I had to do. So I pulled it out and dried it and smoked it. But this one I'll probably just leave in for the course of the day and see when it peaks and see when it ends. Just because I think this is small enough to be able to handle it without, to still be able to get shit done.
So I guess the flavor would have a lot to do with the weed, the terpenes and the weed itself, right?
And how dry it is. The more moist something is, the more flavor compounds you've still got intact, but the more we put it through the drying process, the more we're going to drive those off. So if I was going to use this strictly for chewing, I think I wouldn't go through because I went into the My Ribs Now for a day just to get it very smokable. And I think if I were keeping this purely for an edible product, I would just skip that step because it was stabilized with that level of moisture in it and it was fine. There was no chance of it, really growing mold or anything, but it didn't burn really nice. It didn't burn real smooth yet. So I think it's going to be one of those things where if you want to just keep it for food, don't put it through that secondary dry for one day. But if you want it to smoke like a big hog leg or a big cannon, then put it through one more day of open air drying and you're good to go.
And I actually reckon it probably work quite well, as a way like in the tropics, because this doesn't require, this is not drying it out in the humidity. I mean, dehumidifying it. You're not drying it in that fashion. So in high humidity, and Malawi is in the tropic, it's in the subtropics. It is part of the problem. So, again, it's efficient. It's probably why all of this, originated where it did, in terms of a traditional way of storing and keeping it for a season. I really must spend some more time looking into it now, the history behind it.
And the use of just being able to chew on some of it is what I'm finding like to be particularly useful. Like, don't get me wrong, smoking is fun and all that stuff, but to be able to just put a little bit in your cheek and get that effect pretty quickly, it's the best thing I can equate it to is doing a sublingual. I don't know if you've ever taken sublingual tinctures where instead of swallowing it, you just put it under your tongue and let it absorb. That's essentially what I'm doing.
No, nice. And I think it could also then work as like you take it with you to restaurants and have it as a little herb that's already ground up, and you can just sprinkle. And when they say salt and pepper, say it's fine. Sprinkle some on yourself and be belazed by the end of the meal. Go, look, mate, you've got 20 minutes to get the service done, or I'm not responsible for what happens next.
And kind of like chew too. It's kind of neat. Like you can. This is going to sound weird, but I used to chew in high school when I had to make weight for wrestling. And you can tell when you move it around your mouth, as soon as you change positions with it in your mouth, it gives off another burst of juice because of the structure of your teeth. So like this is something that I think is going to be like hours long to get all the enjoyment out of it, if that makes sense. This is going to be like an afternoon thing.
I can see Keith and Tanasi getting lost in the mountains. Double chew, bag of mushrooms.
Dude,
Or like-
I do not fuck with edibles, man. And the last time I did was at Tanasi's house. It was on camera. It was on the EO show. And his friend had these fucking cookies, and I ate like half of one. And like 45 minutes into the show, I just stood up and walked away. And I was fucking, I was passed out face down on Tanasi's bedroom floor in the carpet. His girlfriend came over and stuck a pillow under my head. And fucking Empire Dave came over and took a picture of me.
Dear.
Yeah. I would not be taking any kind of edible in the mountains. Those plugs, dude, the chews, they sound intense. They sound really good for a concert. I would probably take like the tiniest little one, man.
Well, and you can take it out is the nice thing. Like I said, it's kind of like a sublingual that keeps releasing slowly. So
Yeah.
if you get to the point where like, okay, I got shit I got to do later, you can pop it out, and within a half hour, you're going to start sobering up pretty good. So
Okay.
that's what ended up, the other day when I took that bigger chew and I'm like, oh shit, I still got stuff I got to do. That's all I did. I was able to take it out, put the brakes on it. So I think that's one reason, like that's a pretty big problem with edibles is once you eat it, you're in for the ride. You buy the ticket, you take the ride.
Yeah, you've already you've swallowed all of it. It's like, yeah, unless you go and stick your thumb down your throat,
Right.
or drink
And that might even
liter
help
of
us.
prune juice.
Right. With this, there's no issue with that.
Yeah.
It seems like it's something that's a lot more controllable, but the effect, like I said, is more like a sublingual. So it's kind of like getting the effect of a sublingual or the effect of an edible, but without the buy the ticket, take the ride part of it.
So I guess you're testing out the duration
Mm-hmm.
today with a clear
That's what I'm
mind.
doing.
Nice.
That's why I started. I stayed up till about 6 a.m. knocking that plant down so I could sleep, get up, do this, throw that in, not smoke anything, and just see how far that lasts.
Hmm.
Especially with a pulled muscle, I think it's a good time to test it because then I can see if I actually get some pain relief.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, how's that back?
It's moving much better. It still hurts. Like obviously
Okay.
with weed as a pain reliever,
Mm.
it never makes the pain go away, but
Yes.
it definitely makes it a lot more dealable. Like I'm moving now. I'm moving a lot better. And it was just a 40-pound bag of rock salt, but I carried it wrong on my one shoulder and I just twisted wrong. So it should heal up, but I definitely am glad I got this little piece of cob just to make today a lot easier on my freaking pain threshold.
Yeah, and imagine if you didn't have something like that. I mean, again, it's not necessarily a pain. It doesn't numb you,
It just
you know,
puts the
like
pain in the background. So
Yeah.
It's about
exactly.
like
It
an
makes it
ibuprofen.
manageable.
It's about like an
Yes.
ibuprofen. It doesn't get rid of pain. It doesn't make it go away at all, but it makes it more tolerable.
Well,
And I'll
this could go
testament
ahead.
to that on the like with the balm for the tattoo. As I said, what I actually noticed is putting it on, lather it on beforehand. I mean, the skin feels kind of numb. You can flick it, and it's like, yeah, I'm not really feeling that. Like that's kind of numbed it out nicely. And when you're getting the work done, it's not like you don't feel it. It's just not so intense. It's not so when it gets into the really intense bits, it's like, okay, that's bearable. I'm still, starting to sweat from my teeth, but I'm going to be able to get through this. And then the healing time, I will definitely grant it that. And I actually think it's more from the pre-application than almost the post-application of it on the healing time of the skin. But that I'm not advocating going and doing it. Do it at your own risk. It's tattoo ink. It's your own skin. Be prepared for it to fuck up too. And don't come looking for me at that point.
I mean, you just rub it in really good before you go. It'll be fine. I'd be more concerned about rubbing it in afterwards and it pulling some of that ink out rather than doing it beforehand.
Yeah, beforehand I make sure that I wash it off properly as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
hot water and soap off.
Do you
so
use
it's
a
all
pink
gone.
razor, Pete?
No, I
Is it
don't.
pink?
No.
Okay.
No.
Purple. Gotcha.
I use Veet.
Dude, I only use women's razors. They're just so much easier. Like that's one reason I got a big ass beard is my skin is super sensitive, so I hate shaving. So yeah, I always steal my wife's razors. They're much better than men's razors.
Fuck razors, man. I just trim. Just trim
Yeah,
it
I
off.
just
I need
use
to
a
do that myself.
The same one, just every now and then the face and the hair are the same length.
Yes, sir. I feel you.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was Ego was saying he nicked his ear without realizing it, or nicked himself and wandering into a store, blood all over his neck. That is the catch with wet shaving. Everybody looking at you like.
At least your bird fuzz grows a little bit better than mine does on top, Pete.
But this,
Yeah, the bird fuzz. The
yeah.
baby-
I need to take it back down to pool ball, pool table
Yeah.
length. Get it back down
Yeah.
to that.
Get it slick, man.
Yeah.
Slap it.
It is weird if you've never done it, wet shave your head once and then to feel your scalp for the first time is really odd because you've never done it before. It's a very strange sensation. Apparently it grows back. They fucking lied.
Or if you're bald, you feel it every day. So it ain't
Yeah. And then on the EO show the other day, we did hit the topic of VPD. So if anybody in chat or anything that's got any questions on VPD, follow up, please feel free to ask away. Quite happy to answer. But it's a really quite a deep topic, and if you really want to dive into it, it can get particularly deep. But on the surface, again, I think the really important thing about VPD is it. Everybody's, but the humidity's got to be so high. It's more like, okay, we'll bring the temperature down then. Then your humidity doesn't have to be so high. It's kind of really maybe the clue that, oh, hang on, I'm having to crank the humidity up into the danger zone, which I don't want to do. And bring down, if you just drop the temperature by 5 degrees, you can drop the humidity by 10%. It's like a massive drop in humidity that you can suddenly do. And you're at the same VPD.
Oh yeah, props to you, man, for that free little tool they got there.
Yeah.
What's
I got a book. The Oracle.
Yes, the Oracle. Yeah.
And I'll say thanks for the giveaway last night on Eagle Show, Pete. That was really nice of you to do, man. You are a very, very kind, how shall I say, product producer. So thank you.
Yeah, Keith, come on, mate. You got to give a light away now.
That's at Eagles Gardens on YouTube, and
Actually,
it happened to be.
Keith's mortgage just flashed before his eyes.
No, I just gave away a light, you guys.
You did?
To a combat wounded veteran. So
nice.
Fuck you.
Jeez, that's what it takes to get a free light from you. Fuck me.
Yeah, he just said it, a combat wounded veteran.
Yeah, Jesus, I'm gonna have to go. That's a bit tough.
Gotta come better than that.
Yeah, okay. So set the bar, why don't you? No. Excellent, man. I'm only taking the piss. Oh dear. See chat. No, we're not going to go down that route.
That road's been traveled.
Oh yeah,
speak of such things.
It's great. It's absolutely hilarious. I think it's fantastic. I mean, you do realize we are good friends, so it's absolutely fine. It's all good, man. But
yeah, speaking of getting lost in the mountains, man.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
Yes,
we, drove around the Rockies in the snow and fucking mushrooms and like disturbed like a bunch of wildlife photographers. Like,
oh, that was brilliant. That was
like, this guy had obviously spent like 2 hours crawling up a herd of elk. And like we drove by and we saw him and we were all like, woo! And like drove up with the windows down and the music on. We were all like,
get some
metal blasting out the car. And the funny thing is, these mountain goat whatever didn't move an inch. They were like, mate, we see you type all the fucking time. We're a little bit concerned about the guy creeping over the rocks because they usually have a bang stick. Not necessarily a camera, but the guys who arrive all making all the noise. Nah, don't worry about them. They're fine. Yeah, they're the harmless crew. But that was a funny day.
All right. Yeah. Chat's asking for Pete and Keith round 2 on lightning.
It's not that important. Pete Pete's wrong, but it's not that important that like I prove it to him or like force him to admit it.
Oh, I feel like I missed out on this one.
Dear, oh dear. Oh, well, you know, as the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you.
And I missed one night.
So what's the controversy? Can I ask, or should I leave it alone?
No, don't worry about it, man. Oh, it's
Okay.
a funny, it's a fun topic.
If you would like to see the main
I'll shut up.
round, please head to
Cheating on
Embracing
the,
Organics.
was it the Embracing Organics show?
Yes.
Well,
The
if
most
Chad,
Okay, I
recent
can
show.
sum it up without actually having the argument. I'll just tell them both of our sides. Basically, in a nutshell, I believe that when you're calculating BTUs from a grow light, you have to subtract the percentage of the watts that are actually getting turned into photons before you use the wattage to calculate your BTUs.
your heat, yeah,
He-
yeah, yeah.
yes, he believes that you use the entire wattage of the fixture and use that wattage amount to calculate BTUs.
Well, we
I
can
believe you have
empirically
to
test
subtract the
this.
percentage that becomes light, and that's the argument. I'm not even gonna.
No. And you know, when actually, I mean, this comes down to a lot of the thing is because when you okay, so that is if you measure the same way with an HPS into like the component that you're interested in, yeah, it's like that 40. This is when they talk about the efficiency of the bulb. So, how efficient is your LED? What's the efficiency of your LEDs? I mean, a top LED is maybe at about 40% efficiency. Let's say, argument's sake, 50.
Yeah,
Or-
I mean,
50 is probably pushing.
to the mid 50s, honestly, for like
It's
I
your
think-
standard efficiency. So
well, no, that's high. Like if you're
Yeah.
in around like 2.3 micromoles per joule, I think that is about like 50 to 56% efficiency.
No. So what you have actually is the immediate heat that's given off. I'm not going to. Okay, so where I'll stop.
I opened the can of worms.
I'm not going to go down there.
Yay!
No. But I it was good because had to go back and remind myself on a whole bunch of this shit, which was great fun. I mean, the last time I dabbled with it was when I was studying at uni, so that was 20 years ago, and it's like, okay, let's go back and have a quick run through it. It's still what holds the universe together, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just think that photosynthetically active radiation, or PAR, which is what we measure when we assign an efficiency rating to a light, hits the surface of the leaf and gets transferred into chemical energy.
While the lights are on, and then when the lights go off, photosynthesis stops and it starts to burn up the sugar, which is why it produces CO2 at night and not oxygen at night. And the plants give off ambient heat at night. Now, in the full life cycle of what goes on with the plant, and this is why you have to look in terms of the laws of thermodynamics involve like things at a really large scale. You're talking universal scale to when you look at laws of thermodynamics. That plant gets eaten or gets smoked but when you burn it, all that energy that was absorbed, poof, there goes all the heat suddenly given off. It's not like of all the energy that comes from the sun, 1% of it that hits the planet is actually absorbed by plants. And of that, a tiny percentage gets captured and stored into the ground, which becomes fossil fuels, which surprisingly enough, we burn later on and release the energy that was stored in it. But otherwise,
you're way off topic, man.
But this is what holds the laws of thermodynamics together. Is all that energy gets consumed and gets burnt off. Eventually, it all goes as heat, no matter how you look at it. Now, in a grow room, it's a very closed little environment. They still heat up the entire environment. Oddly enough, if you put no plants in the room, stick a 600 watt HPS and a 600 watt LED light, fix the ballast, the whole bloody thing, stick it in there, leave them on. In fact, my grow did it, and they both heat the tent up to the same amount. But how they do it is very different, and this is why airflow becomes so important, because high intensity discharge lighting, and the clues in the name, it's high intensity discharge, uses the infrared spectrum. It's a huge portion of what it gives off, and it's giving off light that's high intensity. The photon energy.
I would not count any infrared as part of the efficiency rating of a grow light. It would not be counted as par, and therefore infrared would have
but it's part
no
of
effect on the ppfd or the micromoles per joule.
But it's part of what it gives off. I mean, and an LED gives off a tiny amount of it, but it's tiny,
Right.
tiny. It's infinitesimal. But I'm talking about a HID light. LEDs are not HIDs. HID is high intensity discharge, which is gas lighting. Things
Right,
that
but you can
have
still calculate the par and the ppfd or whatever for a HPS light. I mean, you calculate the micromoles per joule for it. I don't
But
think
that's why their efficiency
infrared
ratings
is
are much
not-
lower, because their efficiency ratings at like 20%, because other 80% is all sitting there. And the efficiency is in what you want to use. So the other 80% is sitting out there in the infrared spectrum, which is all this heat that you're not overly interested in. You're actually interested in about 5% of it to keep the leaf surfaces nice and warm, so that you don't have to heat the room up so much and rely too much on ambient temperature. Because remember, those leaves have got to get to the optimal photosynthetic temperature, which is 22 to 25 Celsius. So however you warm the room up, that's whether you're doing with infrared or just blowing warm air around to keep everything nice and warm. That's the objective there. So what you have is, HID lighting has this, and that's why LED is so much cooler, because you spend all of it on this spectrum part that you're interested in. But it's all electromagnetic spectrum. All of it is, okay? From infrared through to visible light spectrum, through to gamma radiation, to however you want to, radio waves. It's all in magnetic spectrum, and it all excites particles as it goes along. It all eventually gives up its energy as heat as it moves down the line. Plants are interesting in that they absorb it and store it for release later on, but it doesn't mean that it disappeared. It's still there. And the thing is still giving out all that energy. Now, the plant will absorb some to cool itself down, but it's still all being given out. And it all
but if it's not
results
that's true, but it's not useful to count that energy as part of your calculations for BTU requirements.
Yeah, but that's very important, because it's the total energy that's going into the room that you have. You're not, the thing about cooling is I'm not interested in just the percentage that's being used by the plant. I actually want to know, if I've got fans in there, what's the wattage of those fans? Because those are putting out that amount of heat into the room. Is the ballast in the room or out the room? Because that makes a big difference as well. I mean, if you can put the ballast outside the room, bonus, because a lot of the energy dump happens in the ballast as it drops the voltage down to 12 volts. Your mic's gone weird.
The wattage of that fan, though, is not being converted into heat. Some of that energy is being converted into the motion of the fan. Just like in a grow light, some of the energy is being converted into light.
And there's resistance in the bearings.
Energy cannot become light and heat. The energy from a watt of electricity, if it becomes light, it cannot also become heat.
But it's the same. Okay, this is okay. It's the same thing.
Okay. It's all good,
it is the same thing. It's just you can see one and feel the other.
Well, the difference is that if it's electromagnetic radiation that's in the photosynthetically active spectrum and it hits a leaf, about 80% of it is going to get stored as chemical energy. And that heat will be released later when, somebody smokes a joint. But I don't need to worry about that when I'm trying to size the air conditioner for my grow room.
And when there's no plants in there and they're small?
If there's no plants in there, then it's gotta be a different story.
And so when they're tiny little seedlings, you then got to know what is the maximum that I need to be able to cool this place down, because I don't have things absorbing this heat. I'm down to an empty room. So I need to know how much energy is the maximum that this thing is giving out, so I can, and that's probably the point where you're the most sensitive, where I don't want to overheat it. So I've got to have something that can handle this. So the way you calculate is empty the room. How warm can I get this room? And now how do I cool it? So everything that's in there, I need to measure the heat output of everything that's in the room. That way I scale it down. And then, hey, if the plants mean that my AC has to work less, bonus. But when there's nothing in there and it's at its smallest amount, it's like when the plants are really small, your dehumidifier hardly has to work. But when they get big and are now drinking 6 liters a day, which means they're giving out 5.9 liters each, you know, suddenly your dehumidifier is cranking away. So, you know, it's that. I mean, I look at it in terms of you don't have any plants in there and measure the total energy output from that device. Now I know what it gives out. But yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating topic. There's a hell of a lot to it. It's one that's worth, you know, taking a deeper dive into. I certainly recommend it. It really is. As I said, it was.
Just to add to that, Pete, we've actually discussed this before, I think, and I've noticed it quite a bit. Is, you know, you have let's just say a 4x4 grow tent. You know, you're in flower. You remove. You know, you're running consistent. Let's just say you're running consistently 50% humidity, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, that's what your temperatures run. You pull one of those plants out, it throws all that shit out of whack.
Yeah.
Just by removing one plant. You know,
yeah, you'll watch your humidity tank.
Your temperature will rise, and now all of a sudden your whole environment has changed just because you've removed that one plant. You don't have that humidity from the transpiration. You don't have that extra moisture from the water and the soil. Just it's amazing how much just by removing one plant out of a grow space it will change it. So I don't know if that has to do with the actual light factor or the heat that the plant is putting off, or the addition of the humidity. You know, just the humidity will change the temperature. Humidity can change all that.
I mean, environment monitoring and control of that is like, it is almost rocket science. I mean, and especially when you're doing it in the horticultural space with this living thing that's constantly changing, and 1 minute it's transpiring more than it did 2 minutes ago, you know, and it's like, what the fuck? It's an ongoing, that's what makes it so much fun. It's not something that you can ever perfect. And that's what I find so interesting about it, about the whole horticultural side of it, growing something like a plant. It's never the same thing twice. Even if it is a clone, it's just never the same thing twice. Because environment's never the same twice. You know, everything is slightly different.
So I think there is something, though, that we're kind of missing in our simplification of this. Fermi has something he called the golden rule. And Fermi's golden rule, if I remember it correctly, it's basically what they call classic quantum physics. It's the very basics of how we started delving into it. And basically what it says is there's a transition rate that, because a photon is both a wave and a particle, that transition rate of energy that it gives off, depending on the spectrum, is going to vary. So, for example, we all know the heat given off at 700 nanometers is far different than the amount of energy, I should say, given off at 700 nanometers is different in quality than the amount of energy given off at 300 nanometers. And what produces heat, from what I understand from what Fermi is saying, is literally the fluctuation of those particles in that range. So depending on where the light is emitting and the frequency it's emitted at, you're going to get different transitional bits that are able to translate into heat.
It's also the wavelength of the light that makes its efficiency. So it's how efficient it gets at doing it. It's how much it excites the particles that it's traveling through.
But even low frequencies are going to give off some heat. High frequencies are going to give off more, but it really has to do with that transitional phase, how much heat is generated in the environment.
And that's why you get high energy radiation. So like you get these radiation particles that are incredibly high energy. You don't want to be anywhere near the fucking things, but they peter out really quickly because they give off all that energy so fast as they transition down, as they break down as well. That energy particle just dissipates. Some of them are slightly lower and will just pass through things. So you've got,
and I think that's why when you mess with Planck's constant, which is just supposed to be how you measure the energy of a photon, right? It's supposed to be Planck's constant. However, when you plug a formula, when you use Planck's constant as a formula, it only works for specific energy levels emitted by the atom. right? So if it's specifically emitting at one spectrum, 1 nanometer range, that's going to change the Planck's constant based on if it's at a different nanometer range. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. It's just bringing back. I mean, as I said, it's like I've got to take a stroll back through the uni notebooks. Go, ooh, I remember this. This is all good fun. Yeah.
But we can measure all this empirically. I mean, there's no need to have a debate. We can set 2 tents side by side and take a measurement. You know, we can make this practical.
We can make this happen. Damn it. But again, it has been done. We can just go and have a look at multiple experiments of it having been done. It's not one that has to be necessarily repeated.
You said Migro did it?
Yeah, I think Migro did it. Is it Migro? Yeah, I think he's Irish or something like that. If I remember.
Migro, yeah.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Migro.
Yeah, I can never quite remember off the top of my head. I'm
don't
sure
bring
I
him
saw
up to
him.
Chris Mertz. Chris gets a little touchy.
And there's plenty of others on it. But whereas I see, like Smiley was talking about photo respiration, but in terms of, but the idea. I'm trying to remember photo respiration. My brain just went. But I was just talking about, like, that on the VPD side of things. Yeah, again, keeping it at a VPD of 1 or 10. 10 hectopascals, 1 kilopascal. That's really like
Are
the
we
optimal.
talking pascals, hectopascals, or kilopascals?
So I said 1 kilopascal, 10 hectopascals. I tend to work it in hectopascals. So if you have a VPD of 10, that will be your optimal. And I think that actually works across the range for a number of plants. I mean, as I said, maybe not for a cactus. Yeah, the standard VPD chart. But yeah, no. So that gives your plants the optimal transpiration rate while they're photosynthesizing. And that's really what you're just trying to do. And that keeps the plant nice and healthy and happy. So, and while it's nice and healthy and happy, fewer bugs, fewer chances of mold setting in, cell structures all nice and healthy. I mean, on that point, does anybody here use any like additives, like silica additives at all? Top dressing on the organic side would probably be like oyster shells, I think.
Diatomaceous earth. For silica, diatomaceous earth is your best available for biogenic silica.
Are you saying rice hulls?
Yeah, rice hulls take longer though. It's like GMF was mentioning.
Fumi. Mr. Humorous, eh?
Fumi being funny.
Yeah. With the quick comments in the chat there.
Pascal is sexy, man. What are you gonna do?
Well, on that note, move away. Yeah. So have you got all of your agar plates off? You still doing gaskets on them?
Yeah. I decided to clean up the holes a little bit more because I kept going back and forth and cleaning them up and then making the gaskets. But got like 17 done last night because I was just laughing so much. Fucking Chris. I wanted to get at least 20 done, but yeah, I feel confident that I can get a couple done before the show tonight with Humidor. But yeah, these ones I can actually start making plates. Like I can start making agar plates. I just need to put the bottom of the container. Here, I have some finished ones that actually have agar and they're so yeah, this is the finished product.
Okay. So that's got the
And
agar
as
on
you
the
can see,
bottom.
the agar's on the bottom, and this white film right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, is the mycelium.
And how long has that taken to get going there?
Oh, honestly, this was done like a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
I just had I've been working on other things because people have been asking so much about tissue culture. So I like kind of needed to step back a little bit, and I had to consider some things. Some people have been asking me if I could make these for them.
Mm.
So yeah, I was just trying out this method, and if I do start making them in mass, I'm gonna switch to instead of using a gasket maker to just buying the self-healing injection ports as like they're basically little stickers
Yeah, and
that
you
you just
just put
stick on there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then
Makes
it
you
has it
quicker.
exactly.
You've got Tenaci's, both you and Lefty Keith. You have you got one of Tenaci's
No,
mushroom?
but I'm
I
using the
know
same
Lefty
method.
has. Yeah.
I'm using the
Yeah.
same method, but I
Yeah,
like
I did.
Tenaci's. What was that, Keith?
I said I did. It's Sacred Three Mushrooms, and I
Mm.
did have one of his kits. I ran through it twice, and now it's just kind of done. Like I need to order another pack of substrate from him.
And then what
Nice, nice.
mushrooms are you particularly
works.
going with the Raptor? Are you going with edible? Well, okay, they're all edible, but
They're all edible, some just once.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going the culinary route, I guess we could say, with oyster mushrooms. Gonna stick with that. Gonna try to cultivate that as much as possible because they're so aggressive. They can go through uh, a lot more conditions than most other mushrooms. I'm gonna do that. Lion's mane. Got some Penis Envy, A plus, B plus, and Blue Meanies, and those are all psilocybe. Oh, and Tamponensis. Tamponensis is
I'll nod my head knowingly, not knowing any of those.
yeah. The
Sounds delicious.
basically all the fun ones, all the fun ones. I'll just put
Great.
it like that. I'm excited for Tamponensis specifically because that's Philosopher's Stones,
Okay.
and I don't need as much attention to those.
Mm.
I'm not
I've never
growing them
tried
for.
those actually. I mean, I've seen them
You
on
can
sale
get
in Amsterdam, but
you
I've not
can
tried them.
exactly. So that's something that's how I found out about them.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking a question.
I was just gonna say it's starting to look into it. It's really similar to cannabis with with strains and stuff that's native and stuff that's been hybridized, and I mean it goes that deep on that side of things too.
The beauty of mycology is we can still go out and get wild spores. We can still get all that wild stuff. And why I like working with wild spores is because just like land races, you get so much more aggressive growth, and you can really pick out the char- the characteristics of it all. Uh, just show much better. It's just overall easier. And let's say I put a wild spore strain onto a culture like this, like a fresh agriculture plate. I can actually have some mushrooms pop up from there, not even needing a grain to feed off of. Like there is light malt extract in here. That's what I use in there for its nutrients. So it does have like trace nutrients of the grain. So yeah, the mushrooms that do come up on that, those are the ones you wanna
Go for.
yes, I guess in yeah, just basically clone.
Mm.
It's exactly cloning. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but no, that's the exact term that it's the correct term. And you want those because they they're proven to fruit faster, to produce
Yeah.
mushrooms much easier. And if they can fruit in there, man, imagine what they can do in like a 60 quart tub, you know,
Go wild,
what,
yeah.
yeah, what, that's why I like the tubs too, is because you can just expand. You know, you could do, start off with an Aussies kit. You know, I really recommend kits because to beginners, just so that they can get that feeling of, yeah, I fucking did it. You know, it's like it wasn't as easy, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It's much more easier. Uh, yeah. So start off there, and if you like how the results are for you, start looking into doing these things yourself, or you know, go into other people's, and I believe Mike Tyson, MYC Tyson, on Instagram has some decent kits where he doesn't sell any of those spores, but he sells you the kits, and
Yeah.
it's all ready to go substrate in like much bigger bags. So this can go many routes, but I'm crazy and I like going the DIY route.
That's the best way
So
to do it.
this,
Then you actually understand how it's done. You know, if you do it from the ground up, if you actually do it, you know, yourself, learn how to do it that way, then you understand it because you've done the whole lot. You've built the foundation. Like
yeah,
duckweed. So on the island, do you have any? What are the like native psychedelics? Any psychedelic mushrooms that are native to the
yeah, I'd
region?
love to hear about your tropical uh fungi. Oh,
Is he still
you
there?
pass out?
Oh, it's still moving.
Good.
Is he thinking?
Duckweed, thinking about it?
That last drag really hit home.
Uh, well, continue next time.
Oh dear.
Uh, but yeah,
How are you feeling there,
actually,
GMF?
yeah,
What
that's a good
we're
question.
an hour or so in?
Just about to post another into the comments. Right now, the cottonmouth has gotten worse, but the back pain has gotten better. So, flavor-wise, it's now that it's actually moistened up on my cheek a little bit. It's actually gotten a lot more pleasant. It's back to that fruity characteristic that it had at first. So, yeah, overall, I'm digging the shit out of this, man. I can't argue with it.
I would hasten to add, I can almost hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
It changed.
Yeah. I feel a lot better than when I woke up. That's for darn sure. Like, I feel a lot better than when I woke up.
Excellent, excellent. That's what we want to hear, man.
This is effective medicine. Like, I'll say this, when you were talking about them, you know, the reason that it was used still and the reason that it was still prevalent was because it was used as a local, you know, natural medicine. All I got to say is I can see why. I mean, this makes perfect sense to me now. I don't see why we haven't been doing this the whole time as far as a way to give people medicine.
Yeah.
This works great. I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm digging the shit out of this.
I'm all advocate now for we got to have this as a stand at the next, you know, at the next cup. It's got to be the cob stand.
Well, I'll give some out. I don't mind. We can make some.
And it'll be a case of spot the dog turd in amongst these. On look alone.
All right, buddy. What do you say? Can you give us a turd so we can do it? You got one in there? What do you got for us?
Oh dear.
All right. He's like 80 pounds, so that turd would be the size of your cell phone.
Nice. Somebody plaster mind bleach. That's not the visual I need right now.
Robert Rittenhouse wants to know what I did, so I'll just review it for him real quick. So I made a Malawi cob in about a week as opposed to a year. And then I took a little tiny bit of it, treated it like chew, and I put it into my cheek and gum. And I am getting some significant pain relief. I am getting, you know, it's basically fully active as an edible without eating it, actually swallowing it. So honestly, I'm loving the shit out of it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm very jealous, I must say. Very jealous indeed.
Well, you can have the protocol. You can make some.
Yeah, I'll have to pass on to my cousin Chip there and let him have a go.
SOPs.
Yeah, I'll put this on my IG if anybody wants it. I'll just put it out for free on my IG. Now that I think I have it all dialed in, I'll write it up and just put it up as an Instagram post. So if y'all follow me, I'll be glad to give any information I get, I give away. I don't like a barrier to information. So I'll just write this up and put it on my IG if anybody wants to follow my IG.
Yeah. I like Richard's D's comment there, you know, in the future we'll be barreling cannabis, you know, yeah, and it's going to be barreled in old sherry casks or whatever to also get some of the flavor and profile coming in from that.
Why not? It had to be shipped somehow. So why not, you know, use an industrial press out one giant barrel-sized cob.
Everybody getting a sous vide for Christmas?
Reggae on a banjo beat. That's what, you know, reggae beat on a banjo. That's what you need.
Which actually sounds awesome to me because I very much like bluegrass. So I would sign up for this. But no, I think part of I mean, I think you nailed it. Like a sous vide machine, they're cheap now. You can get them very inexpensively. They make cooking things like your Thanksgiving meal so much easier. They make a lot of meats and proteins so much simpler to do. Heck, I love doing potatoes in them. I'll just peel potatoes, throw them in a plastic bag, throw some butter in there, drop them in the sous vide, let them go till they're perfect, and then I don't have to do anything. Like there's so many useful ways that you can use this thing. It's ridiculous. And not just, you know, it's not going to be just for making your cobs. It's going to be for making dinner. It's going to be for making, you know, anything around your house. These things are crazy useful to have. And they're very cheap now. Like the one I have is, I bought it refurb from the manufacturer, so I got it cheap. But you don't have to spend money on an expensive one now. You can buy cheap ones and they work really well.
Of course, if you go and buy the cob kit, it's 200 times the price, and if you pop down to the local culinary shop and buy your sous vide one. So yes, cob heater kits available from cobheater.com.
Is that a thing?
No.
Okay.
I would just make, I would say it's the same as, you know, as soon as you brand something, you know, you put Nike tick on the side of it, that blank trainer goes up from, you know, 10 quid or whatever it is to 100 and something quid just because you stuck a sticker on the side. It's like we can rebrand this as a cob device and therefore we can charge more. Yeah, like the nutrients, instead of going down to your would Malawi cob work as a suppository asking for a friend?
Yeah,
probably it absorbs. The question is, could you keep it shoved up your butt how long enough to keep it there? You know, that's the only problem.
It's got to be chewed before it gets inserted as a suppository. That's
that's the only problem.
A whole new Pornhub search category.
But no, I'll advise too, like if anybody's out there, if you don't have the ability to dry, like if you don't have the ability to go through traditional hanging, if you don't have if your environment, say, doesn't allow it, or you don't have the room or something like that, this is one way that you can get around that need to dry and cure, basically. So
there was a lot of produce that went into it. I mean, there was no waste either. I mean, it was everything that went in. Stalks, the whole fucking trip went in. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you could condense your entire plant down to just a couple of jars and be done. And then it's curing and ready, 14 days later, you're good to go.
Or even less. Yeah. If you I can get it out in a week now. I'd say the other side of that too is Fumi asked me about this the other day. So I did some research for him on the actual structure, like, okay, water curing. And I think this has a relation because people are talking about water curing as a way to deal with botrytis and bud rot. And so his question is, can that actually happen? Can you wash away bud rot, mold, botrytis, that sort of stuff? Here's the thing. In this case, in this scenario, I think using this technique, you're essentially going to sanitize your cob. When you put it into this heat, you're going to go through a fermentation process that's going to kill off any spores, any mold spores, anything that would, you know, grow botrytis, basically. So what we could do technically is if you get something with, you know, a little botrytis rotten in there or something like that, since the mycelium of botrytis is actually made of chitin, right? It's not water soluble. So I'm pretty sure water curing, you can in many ways rinse off all that active mycelium. So all that white fuzz that's grown in there, you could agitate it off with water. And then once you seal it up to become a cob, you're going to kill off all the microbes present that were growing that particular mycelium. You're going to basically use lactobacillus to poison them with an acidic environment. and that acid is going to go through and clean up for you, basically.
Hmm.
So I think in the long run, this is a way that if you say you got something that you're not going to be able, you think you're going to lose, you're going to have to cut it early, or you think it's starting to get, bud rot. This may be a way that you can deal with things to actually preserve them and not lose stuff and not lose quality. This is going to take a little more testing to see, and I have to figure out how to actually create botrytis.
You know what would be really interesting to try? Here's one to go for, is to cob a male plant. Because traditionally, like, okay, what part of this am I going to smoke? Now, the male plant does have trichomes. It is sticky, and you're thinking, how am I going to smoke this damn thing? But now, considering that the cob is the whole plant, and it is the whole fucking plant that gets crunched down, that could be quite interesting to see. Could you therefore smoke the male side of the line and go, okay, I can see how much oomph is coming from, what flavor profile is coming from this part of the line?
Yeah, the flavor is what you're gonna get some understanding of. Yeah, I think that's totally possible, dude. I don't see why not.
Because that's always the catch, is how do you test the male?
Do you think you might get a better flavor if you trim off just some of the bigger stems and leaves before you press it?
I don't know. I think some of the water in the stems is necessary. I think you're actually using that. That's why I think they're jamming everything in there. So I don't know. I from the way Pete described it, I think you need the stems in order to help actually get the, for lack of a better term, the moisture you need to let the lactobacillus grow properly. Then you remove it, and that takes most of the acidity with it. So yeah, I think you need those stems. I think, I could be wrong. I don't think you need the leaves necessarily. I use that as a way to line the top and bottom of the jar so it came out a little easier. But yeah, I think you might want to keep the stems in, just so you have the additional saccharides, because there's sugar in those stems, and you have the additional moisture.
I mean, you could always do one that was just bud only and see if it made any kind of difference. But again, it's a bit of a risk.
I was going to bring that up earlier, but I'm also thinking how much cannabinoids are within those stalks and leaves.
I mean, that's where I think.
So if you're excluding those, and you're trying to, like, you're basically by taking out the water, you're concentrating everything in there, and then everything's decarbed too. So,
I mean, I think in terms of full plant extract, full plant, the holistic medicine
full spectrum
view,
of the
this is
cannabinoids,
probably the way to do it, because there's nothing gassed off, etc., and especially if you kept it slightly, like a pipe tobacco that's always slightly moist. You don't want it bone bloody dry. That kind of consistency, probably make a really good way of keeping going for ages. D. Conley saying, and snort the pollen.
Every piece of the buffalo. D.
Yeah,
every piece,
snout to tail.
Well,
that's
and
the way it should be done.
The one thing we haven't talked about yet, which is something I need to learn more about, I need to actually delve into someone who's got more expertise on it. I've noticed that when I do break this up to smoke it, I think this is going to be something that's going to be well worth washing for hash. I think this is something that, because of the ability to preserve the whole structure, I think once it's gone through this process, now we might want to think about doing an ethanol extract, or now we might want to think about doing, hash washing or something like that, just to see how much that product has changed because we've put it through that first level of fermentation. Will the bubble hash coming off of, a cob be different than the bubble hash coming off of fresh frozen? I think so.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I mean, that's something that, like, Pedro would probably be very interested in playing around with.
Well, and you can
a critical Kush cob that he then washes and then presses the. Well, that would be then. Well, you see, what that would be. Yeah, it would be a challenge for him, because he Well, he makes hash and then presses the hash. I don't think you're going to be making hash from this. You're going to have to go straight down to the extraction route. Well, in terms of you can't, but he makes bubble hash, I think, is the first step in his process. Sift or bubble hash, and then presses that into make that absolutely unreal looking rosin that he makes. That's also absolutely delicious.
Well, like I said, once I pull it and if I look at it really close, you can still see the stalk structure. You can still see the head sitting on there. So I've just noticed that when I break it up, you see a lot of them fall off. So I don't know if this process just makes the head structure very brittle, in which case I would think it's going to. I would think it's going to wash well.
On that thought, hold it for 1 second. Lefty, you got to jump, buddy. So just quickly, everybody, if you can follow Lefty's farm on Instagram, if he hits 420 before Saturday, he does the giveaway on Instagram. If he doesn't hit 420 next Saturday, there's an Orange Gasm giveaway on the Operation Grow Show. So tune in for that. But otherwise, he doesn't believe that 15 of you are prepared to follow him. Prove him wrong. 37 of you unfollow him. See if we can get him down to 0.
Either way, the tag goes away next Saturday, so we'll see what happens. But
what's your IG, Lefty?
At Lefty's Farm on Instagram, at Lefty's Farm on Cannabis.
And I just put down the link.
I'm already following you. Sorry.
All right.
I'll tell my students though. I'll get them on you.
Yeah,
I
me too,
got
man.
one student.
Sorry.
I got one student. I'm making RSO with him today. I'm walking him through it. He ended up with like a pound off his first outdoor. So I'm walking him through making RSO from it. So I'll try to get him and his crew down there to get on your IG.
Very nice. Yeah.
You're actually up to 409 now, so we only need 11 more people. We can make this happen right now, guys.
Noob Grows followed you twice. He followed, unfollowed, and followed again just to make sure.
Yeah, Noob has 2 accounts actually. It's his
Okay,
main account, Noob Grows, and then his Noob Gardens, where he shows his garden pictures. They're really nice pictures. You should check both out.
Yeah, will do.
We'll get that Orange Gasm out to somebody here in the next week. So, yeah, everybody have a good week. I got to get back packing. And, yeah, irregardless, I will give that pack away by next Saturday.
Fantastic. Have a good day, dude.
Later, guys.
Hey, man.
Bye, Lefty.
Y'all, I think I'm actually going to bounce out now, too.
All right, dude.
So, but it's been really good hanging out, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Good fun, man.
Right.
And hey, if you bump into Tenacity, say hi. Otherwise, everybody follow Black Sail Market on Instagram. And Cannabis. And there was also, let me just quickly repost it because I've still got the link here for Black Sail merch. Head on over to there. Grab yourself a t-shirt. Yeah, as always, Keith, fantastic having you on the show.
Yeah, it's always a good time, man. So I'll see you guys again soon. GMF Raptor.
See you, buddy.
Cheers, dude.
Always a pleasure.
I mean, he's clearly fucking wrong. I'm only doing that for comedic effect.
Thermodynamics.
All right, just that's purely for comedic effect. Okay. Just thought that would, the timing. Yeah, no, I tell you what, this cob thing has definitely got a lot of people interested. I think it's one of those that will. It's going to be good to see it take hold, and I think the modern twist on it is fantastic. I think that's really, really fucking cool.
Well, and now I've gotten to the point where what are we, like almost an hour in, and my eyes have started to go, like I can feel them now starting to get all squinty. I can feel them now starting to get that pie-eyed kind of look. Like I can feel the difference in my face, basically.
And you're doing what later on today?
Cleaning the garage is the plan, so I think I should be okay.
Yeah, it's always the hazard with these things. Is this
maybe play some Warzone? I think it'd be good for Warzone. Keep me loose. Keep me getting headshots.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody does play Warzone on yet. It's a good game, good fun.
It's free.
Yeah.
Best price of
So
all.
if you got a PS4, PC, or Xbox 360, is that the latest one? Second to latest one? I can't remember. 360, I think it is. Xbox X is the newest one coming out.
It's 360, Xbox One.
Oh,
and
Xbox
then-
One. Yeah, no, I've got
yeah.
the Xbox One. Yeah, no, sorry. I've had my Xbox Live account is from when it first started.
I hate to derail, but I'm going to get into chat with something real quick. I'm seeing Dr. Ew. He's talking about a greenhouse, right? That would allow him to do tropical fruit. Check out a guy on YouTube named Russ Finch. He's a retired postal worker. He's from Nebraska, and he's growing citrus fruit for market in Nebraska. And he's doing it even in the off season. The way he has built his greenhouse it's really, really ingenious. And it means that he can produce in Nebraska. So in freezing climates, whatever, he can produce year-round citrus fruits. So I don't think that, things like mangoes are going to be beyond the pale if you follow his kind of setup. So I just want to throw that out there for Dr. Ew. There are people who have gotten that to work, especially in intolerant climates. And he does it purely using thermal mass of his land. So he doesn't actually have to put, energy into it typically. So Russ Finch on YouTube.
Yeah, greenhouses are, you can really shift the latitude at which you're growing stuff if you throw it into a greenhouse. I think there's a crowd in the UK called Trees Can't Dance, and it's the most northern chili farm in the northern hemisphere, I believe. Certainly within the UK, it might be in the northern hemisphere, outdoor, but it's in a greenhouse. I mean, greenhouse stuff outdoors, but it's way up north.
And his setup is basically just a baseline using geothermal, right? So yeah, citrus is a little more cold tolerant, but using his setup, you could easily add in just a tiny bit of supplemental heat, and you would be able to get up to, avocado, jackfruit, those kind of temperatures that you need, because you're looking for something without a cold cycle at that point. But I think, especially with the way he created a baseline environment that way, you could use small energy inputs to get where you needed to go.
And you can, to use geothermal heating in a greenhouse, I mean, you get, I say you can do it yourself, yeah, so long as you've got the equipment. It's always the catch at DIY. And you need to be able to drill holes down like 5 meters or something ridiculous. And then you fill it all with crushed or powdered glass, which actually works as a really good thermal retention. And you can have that come. And I saw an installation once. It was really impressive in the way they did it. Like heated the entire floor of the greenhouse, which was enough just to keep everything at a nice, even, warm sort of temperature throughout the year, because it's constant. It doesn't change that thermal heat coming out the ground. But it does mean having to go down deep enough. And I remember that was part of the catch. Was like, oh, okay. So if you've got one of these, yeah, you can do it. Great. And how much is one of those?
Yeah, the benefit is that he's on agricultural land where you could do whatever you want. You just like literally rent it and dig away. I mean, let them know like, hey, I'm making this, but they're basically gonna be saying like, okay, why the fuck are you telling me? It's your property. It's much different rules here. You have agricultural land. Then you have which has the least amount of restrictions. Then business districts, which is kind of in the middle of the three, with restrictions and what they can and can't do. And then you have suburban neighborhoods, and that's where I am at. I'm at the most restricted part of those the tiered sections. So yeah, not so fun when you want to do ag projects.
You only get in trouble if you get caught. I mean, if you're burying stuff, man, just dig it, bury it, and be done with it.
Yeah, for those people that can do that, go for it.
Well, and I will say, like Russ Finch, he doesn't do it with ground glass or anything. He purely uses thermal insulation of the ground and some empty plastic tubing, basically. He runs enough tubing in series He'll dig a trench, run tubing through it, and that's literally how he gets his thermal exchange. So
And
he's on the super
the
cheap
only
side.
electricity that he uses is a fan, and you can attach a fan to a solar panel. And I forget how much wattage that fan takes up, but very minimal. It's just one fan, an intake fan, and that's what you're bringing in the air through. And that's it. That's all you have to spend on it, if even that. Sorry, GMF.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just reading through chat. Let's see what's going on. You know, you are more than welcome to jump in. By the way, that link, we're at the latter part of the show. Feel
Yeah.
free to dive in.
Well, Dr. Ill actually brought up a good point, though, that citrus are very cold hardy. And I suppose you can, what they have the benefit of is they can graft rootstock hardy varieties onto their the science that they want of the varieties that they prefer. And when we're talking about mangos and jackfruit, yeah, they need a baseline, but I don't think it gets under 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's really good. It just look at the metrics, Dr. Hill. You bring up good valid points about the cold hardiness, but if everything is fine and you have it like just on that fan and have a backup power supply to back up your solar panel, if you want to go that route, you could still use city power, but the solar panel route is just a nice like, oh, I don't, for as long as this panel works, I'm fine. And maybe even have a backup panel for your panel, and then
they don't really actually need that much. Surprisingly enough, those panels these days are actually pretty efficient. You don't need that bigger panel, and you need a very small amount of electricity to drive the fan as well. That'd be
exactly. It's very efficient.
Nice.
I actually did my project on it. I can't remember which class it was, but it was when I was doing a lot of my horticulture certification. And yeah, we were going over greenhouses, so I didn't want to repeat anything that was part of the rules for the project, for the end of the semester project. But yeah, I did a whole presentation on greenhouse technologies and their applications outside of horticulture. So I showed illustrations of it being used in a apartment, like an apartment complex. And you have this courtyard in the middle, and that's where all the airflow goes through. Like the courtyard is just going straight through, and it's just a square. And it was awesome. So I totally think this can be used in an urban setting as well, not just out in the Nebraska agricultural setting. It can be used in many different ways. So that one, yeah, that one is a geothermal, but the one I just mentioned, that was just using air circulation and using it in a better way and designing for that as well.
I used to use the conservatory. I don't know. Do you call them conservatories over there? Glass. Well, it's not a greenhouse. I mean, but it's not a greenhouse. It's an extra attachment on the side of the house with, it's all windows. It's like a greenhouse, but just attached to the side of the house. I mean, they call it a conservatory. But yeah, that was great because, early on in the season, you can start putting, because it's double glazed. So really early on, you can start putting things out there and they can get going in the conservatory. But yeah, having the greenhouses are great. I definitely wouldn't mind putting one that wrapped around the house.
Yeah, if every house had a greenhouse, or even better, it was wrapped around the house. So those, I believe the channel that I posted for that one Nebraska retiree that GMF was talking about. I posted it to Dr. Ill. But
Russ
yeah,
Finch.
if you follow that, what was that?
Russ Finch is his name.
I'm gonna grab a drink. 2 seconds.
For the yes, Russ Finch is the retiree, and the person that did that interview with him Kirsten Dirksen is the YouTube channel, and she also has one with you probably seen it, Genetic Memory Farms. I can't remember where it was, but it was in a very cold area of the world where like 8 or 9 months out of the year is just frozen, straight up frozen. And they covered their entire summer home in in a greenhouse, in a much bigger greenhouse than the house itself. And they were able to have citrus, grow grapes, tomatoes, all of these things. It's really cool. I'll have to look at the video
There was
and
actually
post up or something.
a Dutch.
Thank you. Kirsten Dirksen, just type in greenhouse over house.
Is that the one? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, where they did the whole the experiment with the whole one side of the house, when the whole one
Is it
side
one
is just
side
a
of the
big
house?
yeah, but
I'm talking
it's
about
all
the whole
open.
thing is covered.
Yeah, but the whole there's I know there's one that was done in the woods, but this was a University of whatchamacallit, of Amsterdam or something like that, one of those ones there, and yeah, where the whole half of the house was just open, just a greenhouse, and then they had blinds that they could pull down in that. But as a way of regulating the temperature throughout, I mean, it was more of an experiment of like the full house temperature management as well. But yeah, that was interesting. But I've seen the one where they did the.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm saying I've seen the overhouse one as well.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I found the video
Danish,
of what
maybe.
I was talking about. It was in Stockholm.
Mm.
Yeah, so I linked it in chat if anyone else is curious about that. It's very fascinating. So I've considered getting some land up in Michigan, and after learning about all of these technologies, you know, from the past and like the more modern ones, yeah, just implementing them all, and you can basically live anywhere. So I don't mind doing that at all. It's yeah, I plan on like it probably taking 2 or 3 years. But yeah, at least having every house that I make, I would love to have a greenhouse attached to it.
Hey,
How's it going, D? And in Michigan, I feel like I'll have to have a greenhouse over my house. Yeah, how's it going, man?
This fibers are not good.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Hello, everybody in chat. What's going on, Raptor? Thanks for having me, Pete.
No, hey,
what's
all
going
good,
on, GMF?
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah. Is everybody ready for later too?
What happens later?
The buds, brews, and buds.
Oh, okay. Yes. I thought there was something else I didn't know about.
See, there's a question there from Rad Daddy in chat about growing 1212 from seed. Interestingly enough, I found that like if you stick a plant in a 1212 cycle before it's ready, I mean, it's not going to suddenly just start flowering really early. It's still got to reach that sexual maturity stage before it will actually flower. And all that happens is it never really veges properly. So you get very stunted growth. I mean, I've only ever done it once and it was like, I'm not going to do that again.
Oh, GMF has some words. GMF has some words.
I do this every time. My sexing technique is something I picked up from the Rev. So whenever I pop seeds, I pop them under 1212. So I always pop in my flowering tent. And if it's a short flowering variety, I'll do it 3 weeks. If it's a long flowering variety, I'll do it 4 weeks. After that, you switch back to a veg schedule. What it's going to do then is show you the sex traits definitively. It's going to show you which is a male, which is a female definitively. You will see them. Then
okay, so you're talking about going back. I misunderstood the question. I thought it was going from beginning to end. Just start it at 1212 and just let it go. Don't go back into the vet. You're not using it as a early sex indicator. It's more like just grow it under 1212.
Well, and I think Max's 751 is right. Yeah, some people with sativas, I've seen them do that. Like the super long flowering, tall sativas, they will put them right under 1212 because it's still going to stretch 4 to 5 feet, even though it's still trying to do that. And that's what you're talking about, I think, is that no matter what, genetically, it's going to try to go through that longer cycle. However, most of the hybrids that we work with are 8-week strains, 7-week strains, 9, 10 weeks. So in that respect, that's why I said for like those 7 and 8-week strains, 3 weeks and then flip it. Or for those, 9, 10 week strains, 4 weeks, then flip it. And you will get definitive sex. You'll be able to do all your sexing well ahead of time. And you don't really lose any kind of vegetative growth except for those few hours that you didn't get during the first couple of weeks. But you don't really lose anything. There's no issues. Like I said, I have done it now for about 7 years, something like that. And I do it every time I pop seeds.
Fair
Nice.
enough.
And so you wait till they're a week in? How long do you wait in veg until you switch?
Oh, no.
For the
Well, so
sprouts
you
develop.
start under 1212, go 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the variety, and then right to veg schedule. And so veg is usually 18.6 for me. That's my veg 10. And I do it every time. Yeah. My veg tent's usually set on 18.6. So I will literally just throw them into my flower tent to start sprouting. And then after 3 to 4 weeks, I just throw them in the other tent. So, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. So now, Rad Daddy, are you talking about doing this with autos as opposed to photo period? Well, hang on. I think the question was photo periods under 1212s. Autogenic pulls harder on 1212. The way to tell if it's got the auto flowering is really to put it more like at 16 hours, because that's not quite at 14 hours is enough for a photo period plant to go, fuck this, I'm doing it, I'm going to go for it. 16 hours is kind of borderline, and I think you'll find that that's where that's what will trigger the auto flower to go in. If it's a tropical sativa, then 13, 11 is probably what it's looking for, would be its sign that it's going into, actually that's summer, it's probably 13, 11, and then winter is 11 hours of darkness, and 13 hours of darkness, 11 hours of light. It's really small in the tropics. It's if it's bang on the equator, it's it hardly shifts from that. And then 1212 is not going to make much of a difference. That's its natural habitat, I guess. I'm rambling. That edible earlier on is kicking in.
Oh no, I think you're absolutely right though. Like, well, we were mentioning like doing those super long. If I had I have some 16 weekers and stuff that when I go to do them, like it's going to be kind of tricky because I may have to consider something like that to try to keep it inside my tent. I only got a 3x3 with an 8-foot ceiling, but if I want to try some Congolese, I'm going to have to do some finagling, whether it's chopping them in half and then letting them grow that way or whatever.
Dee, were you trying to say something there, bud? You're muted if you were.
Nope. Just licking my lips when Genetic Memory Farm said Congolese. A great strain.
I never had it before.
Pavlovian conditioning.
I've got
Started
Congolese. I've got Congolese crossed by Cindy 99. It's from the Rev. So I can't wait to get into it. I'm kind of curious to see what it does.
Cindy 99 is another great strain.
Never had that one. Can you tell me about it?
D, you muted, buddy.
You're on mute. Yeah.
I have to look it up.
Okay. I just wonder if anybody tried it.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's
I never
by
tried.
Brothers Grimm Genetics.
Originally, yep.
Yeah. And I've had it in my crosses too. I believe it's in my Hollow 13.
You ever tried it straight up?
No. So that's why I wanted to hear about it as well. But I hear a lot of good things. I believe Subcool used it as well.
Well, I got some straight up C99 F4s that I got from the Rev too. So I got both the Congolese Cindy and I got a Cindy. So I was thinking worst case scenario, I might eventually end up bringing those two back together again using his Cindy.
Richard D asked an interesting question: how many land races are known? Holy shit!
How many? Well, let's see. We've got, it's basically geographic, right? So you've got Afghani, you've got things from India, but these are all going to change also based on the tropical region. So like India has so many different climates, it's got a ridiculous number of land races.
I mean, South Africa has got a whole stack of them just within. It's more. And what I really like about Robert Connell Clark's classification is it's done by latitude. So it's more plants that come from these various latitudes exhibit these various traits, and it's almost like that's sort of more the more generalized classification of it, with the big difference between it being drug-based hemp and non-drug-based hemp.
For plants, it has a comment. C99 is a F7, I believe, already. So you said you have F4s?
Yeah, so it's basically an F11 at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be interesting because so on that, like on the F factor point, when it comes to the interbreeding F range, which I guess is where the distinction lies between the final F1 that gets produced and being that's where we brought the two stable lines together, but that interbreeding that happens before you create that boom F1, you have these F1 generations that exist within the interbreeding line, and you stabilize your trait out by F5. So once you go beyond that, it's becoming so diluted that everything else other than that one thing is really becoming the focal point. And that's where you want to start introducing that back trait. So around F4, F5, you've stabilized out what you're looking for. If you're doing it across like a really big selection so that you've got enough to choose from, you should be doing it around about F4, F5. So keeping the line going and going and going, like F, it's sort of like, okay, but then that would almost, I don't want to speak out of turn, but it would almost indicate that what you started with wasn't true breeding lines, because you're having to keep going so aggressively further and further on to stabilize out that trait, is that you didn't have these pure breeding lines to start with. And that's the problem with the polyhybrids and nobody quite knowing what they fucking around with. And sure, if we could do plant, if we could plant out 10,000 at a time, it would be very different. We would kind of have a much better idea of what we're playing around with.
Well, and like Max in the chat says, if you go and get Afghani landrace and grow 20, you'll get 20 phenos. I can see how that would be the case in some areas, but like that deep chunk I'm using right now, it's an Afghani landrace. It was originally from Tom Hill, and then the Rev got it. He took it another 4 generations. So that thing is like a photocopier. Every seed I've popped has been damn near identical.
Well, then I wouldn't even be, but then now that's a stable line. You see, that's no longer it. At some point, you've got to, it's no longer the F generations. You've now got it into a stable line. If every time you grow this thing, it's over and over again.
It's like a photocopier.
Yeah. Then that is what you want. That's now stable because you can see the traits very clearly. You don't get any variation. It's perfect.
None.
So when you take that as a stable thing and cross it with something else, straight away you can see what the other thing brought to the party. It shows up really clearly. What you want is, obviously, ideally you want a male and female from both sides, whack them together and, cross those and see what the male from each side brings to the party and what the female from each side brings to the party. And whether it just stays on the male side, because if it is purely a male trait, you're never going to get it in that final product unless you do something like, okay, this whole cob technique may very result in people growing males for specific traits all of a sudden, because it's actually, I'm growing it to be consumed. I'm not just growing this anymore. I'm now breeding males for final consumption. I'm not breeding them just for breeding purposes. That could be a really interesting, a room that's just full of male plants, because that has the chemo type profile that we're looking for when we turn it into cob, for instance.
Well, that'll be interesting. I got some I keep the deep chunk male going just because that's probably what I'm going to use for the breeding project is the deep chunk male. And I'm thinking I will probably end up crossing that to Mexican bag seed basically from 25 years ago and try to breed the deep chunk out of it. So try to bring in the deep chunk for its ability to root, its stability, but then try to avoid some of its morphological traits from taking over.
Nice. Yeah. Bringing in an old bag seed is very interesting. It's obviously the best thing we have in terms of getting old world cannabis.
Well, but that means I'm
But
starting with one I know, but the other one is just going to be a crapshoot. Like I'm just going to have to
exactly,
keep popping
I was
Mexican
just
bag
about to
seeds till I
say.
find one that I want to hit with this deep chunk males that I keep.
And that's the importance of having that, at least one end of this, the thing being true breeding. You're kind of like, okay, so I really know what came from that one. And so if when I do a cross, I can see, oh, hang on, that suddenly sparked up something new and interesting.
And that's why I'm thinking about using the deep chunk because I'll always have that as a reliable other side to go to. I'll always have that as something that is super, 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 super stable that say I lose my male or something, I can still get to something that's basically a photocopy without too much effort.
No, it's not. Well, a cousin Chip has popped the Afghan seeds. So far, 6 out of 10 popped up. So we hope that there's a male in there somewhere.
Is Chip a paper towel guy or what?
Yeah. It's worked over and over again. There's all these different techniques. Everybody likes to do it differently. It works.
I've actually switched my methods from leaving him in a shot glass filled with purified water to putting it in a cotton cloth towel, in a small cotton cloth towel, moistening that with filtered water, and then putting that in a container, in like a food safe container, and that would simulate a plastic baggie in terms of keeping the conditions stable. And I had full success with that. I did 3 out of 3.
Now, you got that from Cascadian, right?
Yeah. Shout out Cascadian Grow. He mentioned that, and I made sure to let him know that I tried that out, and all of them popped. And they were even doing that. I've recently learned this term, fish bone, where like you get the taproot out, and then the side roots come out.
Yeah, all the little hair roots already start.
Yeah, the little hairy roots. Like I saw that, and it was just at the beginning of it, and I was like, oh, I believe I left it for 40 hours because Cascadian was saying that he does a 24 hour in his shot glass, or whatever glass of water, and then he puts it in his moist towel.
Hey, Rez. Yeah, I see people saying plant straight to cocoa. This is again one of those. It's an interesting, all sorts of different techniques. I find, I've tried all sorts of different ones. I mean, when it comes to like popping chili seeds and things like that, I find temperature is probably, so long as you don't drown them, and that's a real problem with seeds. And with the paper towel technique, you've got to just put a few drops of water on it so that it's just moist. It mustn't be sodden. It must just be damp. And then really the important bit is to keep them at like a constant 22 degrees Celsius or 25 degrees Celsius. And then that really triggers them off. Old seeds, like GMF, like you're probably going to have to do with really old bag seed, is you're going to have to an emery board just to scratch the surface ever so slightly. And an emery board is perfect for doing that. Just allows it to absorb the moisture. That's all you're doing. It's just breaking down that hard shell that's become so weather hardened over time that
the idea is the shell because of the extended time I've had them in storage, the theory is the shell has actually gotten thicker.
It's become harder.
Well,
It's dried out
yeah.
completely. I mean, it's completely dry to protect what's going on inside, I guess. And so you just need to scuff it ever so slightly, just so that it has more chance of moisture going into it.
Yes.
I mean, it's like when cocoa becomes too dry, it becomes hydrophobic almost.
Yeah, you
Because
could
I've
take
never-
it to the extreme and do it what they call seed cracking, and you just crack open the seed a little bit, and you're exposing the germplasm, and then you're letting water go into that, and then start the process. And then also too, it's an old seed. Maybe it's not going to have enough to break through that shell as well as it's growing through. So you're helping it out with that. But I've never done it myself. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, that sounds odd. I kind of thought it was gross sciencey, but no. When I went to school, that's a legitimate method. That's stratification. That's the extreme, what I just mentioned. And the least extreme part of it is just scratching it on, some sandpaper or whatever. You could use, you can use a variety of different things. I use like a piece of popsicle wood, and I use the grain side. Yeah, I position the grain so that I can get it on the rough side, and I just rubbed it a little bit, and that seemed to work. But I really like this uh, cotton cloth method, this cotton towel method, just moisten up, because I don't like using paper towels. I'm trying to get away from that as much as possible. It's wasteful to me. I'll only use them in a lab setting because of sterile reasons. And even then, I still use cloth towels to clean up. It's just, it saves money, and especially nowadays, I'm trying to save money. If I can cut costs
And
as
if you
much
are
as
going to
possible.
use paper towels, I would say for germinating seeds, go with like the blue painters ones that they don't have a bleach in them, and they're
Shop towels, aren't they?
shop towels. Yeah, I guess that
Exactly.
would be. Yeah. Because you can see moisture on them straight away. And the nice thing about those is I've found that the roots don't really want to grow through them as much. But again, if you are using a towel for doing it, whether it's cotton towel, paper towel, whatever, you've got to be careful that if you leave it in there for too long, the root will grow through it, and then you've got to just cut around it and plant the whole thing in. Don't try and pull the root out. That's not a good idea.
I like what Chris Mertz is saying, and I've heard this as well. You can use a combination of this method, but he uses unbleached coffee filters. So you can use the coffee filter and get it moist. And that's okay. I think I would want to go a little further and combine the methods of using that filter so that that taproot doesn't poke through, but put that filter in a paper towel or whatever kind of towel, a moist towel. So that way you have the benefits of both, and you make sure that moisture is going to stay relatively the same and spread out, not too
I'm laughing at Richard Deep because he's right at the petrol stations here. That's the tissues that they have by the petrol pumps for wiping your hands of petrol is the shop to the blue ones usually. You quickly go to they're wondering why there's been a mad run on all their hand tissues all of a sudden. So Rez, it's been a while, buddy. How's your grow going? How's it progressing?
How are your seeds doing?
Dying fast. It's dying fast.
Dying.
Yeah, it looks like it. They all look like they're dying. Well, I've cut.
That's because they're seeded. They've served their purpose.
They're annuals.
Yeah.
There's
done.
4. There's I don't like that one trait of the leaves dying off. As it on a couple of the plants, I don't like it because they're they're not sugar leaves. They're small fan leaves, but every single one is dying. Every single, from the biggest to the smallest, they die.
It's normal on a seeded plant. Honestly, if you've got a healthy seeded plant, it's going to try to draw all the nutrition it can from the rest of it and put that purely into making sure those seeds are awesome.
Well,
So
think about what happens to a pregnant woman, Rez. The nutrients literally get sucked out of her body. If she doesn't,
that's why they
if
eat
she's not getting
before.
nutrients, if she's not getting the nutrients, from the food, no matter what, that nutrients is going to be sucked out from the body and given to the baby.
Ketosis. Yeah, ketosis. Yeah.
So
overfeeding, but see that in a maybe that translates to plants. Maybe that's why I'm having a problem with these couple, because in animals. So if you talk about goats, I killed one like that once. I fed her too much grain. If you feed too much to a pregnant female of a super high nutrient energy mix, she'll kick into ketosis and everything goes to the babies and she dies. They take it all once it kicks in. So,
and ketosis is just ketosis typically occurs when there's an excess of proteins and not enough sugars.
Yes, too much protein.
Yeah, and same thing happens in, honestly, worms. If you give them too much barley, they'll develop little nodules in their stomachs that looks like it's got pearls in it. And that's the same thing happening. There's balanced nutrition is one of the most important things, not just for plants, but for us, for everything, because that's the real nature of our evolutionary biology, is to get balanced nutrition. That's why fermented foods are so important, because they're actually pre-balanced before you eat them.
Well, tonight will be the last time you'll see it, because they're all coming down on day 63.
Awesome! I want to see it.
Maybe one will stay. The one that I really like. That's the only one. There's only 3 in the batch, and two of them are hanging that I want the seeds from. The other one is right in there, and it's the one that doesn't have that issue.
Now, what you're not seeing now. So the ones that you're going to bring down, the seeds in them are not. The plant that you're bringing down is not a representation of the seeds that are held within that plant.
I know.
So now you're going to have the fun of, for the purpose of what you were doing this mass seeding project for, is you've got to just make sure that you don't chop them down too early now. Make sure that the seeds are ripe and ready to go. Otherwise, it's total wasted effort. And bear in mind, you need to catch all the seeds from one plant in one bag, all the seeds from another, each one in its own bag, and then plant out each bag to find. And there's going to be a lot in each bag.
There's a container for randoms that I can't identify. Right? There's one plant that I don't really care about. I might not eat all of them.
They might be the jewel in those seeds, because
they have the last numbered pack. They're the highest number in the ranking. Okay, they're the highest number in the rank. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there's is it 8 or 9? 8, and they get their number labeled number 6, but they're the last ones. And then there's the 2 that are going back to themselves. They're number 2 and 3, which you think would probably be number 1, right? The selves. But I figured with the one I really liked here, that has that same smell texture, had the same smell and growth of the pine and the lemon and a little bit of the what I call turpentine. I guess it's turpentine. And none of that toe cheese. The one might have had a little bit in the background of that toe cheese, skunky stuff. But those are the ones I'm looking forward to most popping, those 3 plants. 2 of those are hanging. Now, like I said about the seeds before, I noticed the seeds on the bottom matured first. All the calyx seeds on the clone plant that were the single ones, underneath that leaf, underneath the leaf. Anytime if you pulled that leaf off, if it was ready to fall off and you just knocked it off, the seed fell off. Those were the first ones to come off, and then it seemed like they formed on the bottom, but I didn't pick those I didn't cut those 2 down until the 2 days after the latest date that he picks for a finisher on the longest pheno. And I did that based upon seeing brown seeds on the top bud, because the very top bud on the plant was the last one when they started to crack open. I could see that it started cracking those open, that went from green to brown. So as soon as that was done and it was over the time, I was like, I mean, they're,
and you probably notice
right
the plant
now,
tanks at that point. You know, at that
they're
point,
tanking, man.
yeah,
They are tanking.
because they've genuinely served their actual purpose. You know, for once,
they're
they haven't
tanking,
been. They haven't
Those
been
big, fat,
fooled
fluffy
into going on and on and on and
Those
on.
big, fat, fluffy buds like he's holding right there now look like they're anorexic.
Well, this is fully seeded, Rez. This is how.
That's kind of. Yeah.
This is how I do my seeds, right? I take all these, cut them down, dry them, and then I will just take out the seeds while I'm smoking it. And so I end up with a jar that looks like this, where it's just seeds in the bottom, right? Just like that. And I agree with you. You will get more white ones on the top. I think it has to do with proximity to the root zone. The closer you are to the root zone, you're going to mature seeds on the way up, because that's where most of your nutrition is being derived from. So I always notice I get better, darker seeds on the bottom, same as you, but then I have to wait for those ones at the very tippy top to fully mature, because I think they're the ones. That very top is focusing more on bringing in photosynthesis than it is on trying to actually finish off those seeds. It's actually pushing, I think, a lot of the nutrient value to those lower leaves, simply because it's got everything it needs to make that seed without competition. Whereas these top buds are way more seeded. There's more seeds coming out of the top bud, but less of them are fully mature because of the competition for nutrients, I think, to try to create fully matured seeds.
It's interesting, because we know a plant when it's looking for, when it goes dry, like some plants, like this bubba in here, this got a lot of bubba. It's what plant I got in the bathroom. It's got a lot of bubba in it. You can let that thing go dry. I mean, it can be it's like it's got no water in it. And the first sign that if you were away that you knew there was a problem with it, would be it would have a yellow leaf on the inside of it from where you've been at the very bottom. It would start there with one yellow leaf, and then it would go next closest to that. And those weak leaves, like inside, go yellow first.
It'll cannibalize those first.
I love that plant. I mean, I love a plant like that, because I like looking at the plant and knowing what it needs watered, and not have to put my finger in the soil and pick the pot up. That thing there, you can just say, oh shit, it's got it. One leaf's going yellow. I'm going to start watering.
So you like a plant you can communicate with, and that communicates back to you in a language you can understand. That makes sense.
It's kind of lazy like me. It doesn't want to do its job all the time. So you think it would be sucking water all the time. Sometimes it's like, I'm here doing my job, but you can't tell I'm doing anything. And that's kind of late. But those 70-30s, a couple of those, the thin leaf or the sativa leaning cultivar. They're not like that. They'll start drooping before they show you a yellow. They'll go full droop where you end up, and then you can water, and they'll go dry in veg. And I wouldn't do that in flower, maybe late to do something that maybe stress them out and to give them a natural stressor, or you just forgot and then you called it a special natural stressor. That's what I do. I forget, and I said, oh, I put some natural stresses on it. Yeah, I just forgot to water your ass. But anyway, they don't do that. When they wilt, they lose more leaves than when they come back, they seem. But these plants in here, when you see them tonight, that one that's on the far end when I'm at the right, I mean, it's like all of those little tiny leaves are just shrunk. They went from this size down to this size, and now they're just all going brown, just totally crumbled brown. I mean, just like not even crumbled, falling off. I'm talking totally withered on the plant. Just I've never seen it before. Of course, I've never grown a plant out that was fully seeded, but it doesn't look pretty.
Well, that's actually one reason I stick to my deep chunk as a male, because every time the females get pregnant, they have a really tough time with pregnancy. They have a really tough time getting through that full maturation. So anytime that deep chunk gets pregnant, it automatically goes into senescence. As soon as it gets pregnant, you start seeing the leaves in the bottom start to dry up and die. So that's one reason I've leaned toward using it as a male. Like this one that I showed you, this is PCK by Superdog crossed with PCK by Biodiesel. So this is two cousins. This one took a full 10 weeks I normally pull it about 8 weeks, but I ran it a full 10 to let those very top seeds mature.
Well, that's what I'm taking down because all the tops have mature seeds. Now they're
Nice.
early. Now even the one could go as long as 75 days, but if I let that thing go 75 days, then it'll just be seeds. There won't be any bud left. You know, it'll be totally gone. I mean, it'll be trichomes floating through the air. You know, you just
EMF. How do you? You brought up a very interesting topic that I've been thinking about myself since I've been wanting to do some, get some seeds in for myself. How do you choose which is the male, which male you're going to use and which female you're going to use? Like if you know this is the strain you're using, and you have the ability to use both a female and a male. I've seen, like, I believe Irie Genetics as the golden goat male. Okay? And then some people use just the female. So why would they choose the female over the male route as their stud?
Well, I'm guessing it's because you have the male, and now you just want to you're just reintroducing that male onto different females to see what the reaction is, if you get any good out of it. Me, I picked based upon the style structure I like growing. It had that straight up grow that had that consistent branching, not that out stuff. You know, it had that consistent up, and the males and females looked the same. And then I picked, and I had 9 males to pick from. I picked out of 9 males, the one, and I knocked all the other ones off the chart because they had that funky smell that makes good weed, but I didn't want to pass it. I wanted to not try to pass that on as much as possible. I wanted to see if I could separate that for the bright colors and see what I got out of these 2 plants from the same seed, where they were male and female, that had the same genetics. I don't know what's going to happen. I've never done it. So I wanted to see it. And I liked the bright colors that both of them had. I liked that they both had the same structure. And I listened to everybody. I thought, same to same colors. This sounds like good from what I know about animal stock. Let's see what it does in plant stock. I have no idea. And the other ones were just, I'm just going to do them all. But this one I really liked. The one I really liked, it's like Fumador said, the one you really like, and most of the time, end up being the one that you pick. And the one that I really like, out of all those females that are from the Moose and Lobster, that one I liked is the one it's still in there, still going the strongest, and still the stickiest, and the one I like the most. So follow your instinct, follow your intuition, and that's all I can say. That's all. I mean, that's always further I've went for it. I mean, Pete hit it on earlier, and it's something that I know already, and you don't see it in the industry, so I don't want to talk too much about it. You guys have it backwards. In livestock, the males are worth the most money.
Because one male can inseminate multiple females.
The most money.
Yeah.
Because
males are worth the most money.
But that's because we consume in this market. We consume the females, and then that's where the money lies, is on that final product. If we were consuming males in this industry, it would be that would be the plan. I mean, and hey, who knows? Maybe this whole cob thing blows a fucking spanner in the works and everybody switches and it's no longer growing female plants. You know,
That's what I said. Yeah, I heard you
You're
say
throwing
that. I was
away
listening.
50% of the potential product.
yeah.
That's every time. And how
And
many
there's
times
things
have
that
people been like, I got all males this time. What a shit show. Damn it.
yeah,
And then this entire time, if we had this
a way of
process in place.
processing it, yeah. And the thing is, bear in mind, there is stuff that on the male that only, so there could be cannabinoids that only appear in the males that do not appear in the females because the genes for making those cannabinoids are on the male chromosome, and therefore you're never going to get it. It's just not going to happen.
What GMF said, he uses that Jeep chunk because it always does this to every female. So that's P told me. Professor P told me. He said when you're picking a male, he said you bring him. He said, but you might get a shit male. He said you might get a shit male. He said it's a chance you take unless you've proven it. Until you've proven it, that first time with that male, there's a chance you could get a shit. And for me, I don't believe there's a shit male. I believe it's going to get me high, so I'm going to be happy with it. Right? I'm old school. I couldn't get weed, and so if I have weed, I'm happy.
Any weed is good weed.
Exactly. Any weed's good, and it all goes.
Is it a good joint? It gets you stoned. Yeah, it's a good joint.
Well, I'll weigh in right now. I'm getting room cleared out. Because I have such a limited plant count, I have to work really slow and kind of plan ahead. So I'm still doing my plan next is to still try to do that run for Eagle for subcool. So I'm going to try to throw down a few subcool beans just to, carry on his memory and show him a little respect. I never knew the guy, but for me, I find like right now I'm trying to clear out space, and I had to do it by doing a quick breeding run. So I'm breeding the PCK by biodiesel by the PCK by biodiesel to make myself another generation of seeds to work with. In this one, I've noticed two distinct phenotypes. You get one that's taller and smells like Play-Doh. You get another one that's shorter and smells like a skunk's asshole. So in the males, I've got the same division. I've got one male that is tall, smells like Play-Doh. I got another male that is short and smells like a skunk's butt. So for those, I will likely pick one of those males and cross it to both of those females and see what it does. Because I basically have two delineated paired traits, height and aroma. And it's very consistent amongst them. So I will probably try to eliminate the taller male, just stick with the shorter male that smells like skunk butt, but then I will hit him to both the tall ones and the short ones.
And in this game, we're trying to figure out what the male brings to the party so that we know. And that's why we want to get one that we know about, so that, okay, this male always brings this because that is a guaranteed trait it's always going to bring, which you're not going to find from anything else, and keep bringing that over. I mean, there'll be other traits you're just never going to get from it. I mean, they're just plain and simple. But now the interesting thing is green with leaves, that obviously appears on like all of the genetics. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's some givens yet, but it's identifying which of those little specific pieces that come from that male plant, which you can't do until you cross it a few times with a variety of females and then go, okay, so that's what it brings to the party, because I see it every single time I do this. And then find the male that brings the right piece to the party, and then that's the one that becomes your main breeding stock. What on earth is that, Rez? Gummy bear, bit of hash, some earwax.
Are you smoking a gummy bear?
Shatter.
Okay.
Why not press shatter into the shape of things? Why do we just give it out in these weird kind of amorphous jars? We should just press it into the shape of gummy bears or pot leaves or something. There's no reason we can't do that.
Or you could press it into the size of a dime, or a size of a dime that's super thin, that's so you can just take it out and put the whole thing across the top of your bowl.
There you go.
know? So it's super thin. That way, when you do it with
Yeah.
a lighter and not a
Just-
torch, you get the full melt.
Or we could do it in
So
bar
they need to
form so
do
you
it
could break
as,
off little pieces.
Yeah, well, they need to.
I did not
yeah,
learn that from weed either. So
separate the little a whole market there for producing.
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. You know how
And then
you take it.
You got any size 4 shatter plates, please? Meaning that that's how
like
you're
doing a
buying
knife
them.
hit. You know, it's like doing a knife hit. The first time I did a knife hit was when I moved to Washington out in the 90s. And this guy just took a piece of weed, and instead of crumbling up, he just rolled it into a ball, set it on the stove, took the 2 knives and put them on the propane.
Yeah, hot knives.
You know, and put them together. And it was
The
like,
original dab.
what the? And he said, here, just stand still. He said, I won't burn you. And he just took it. And he said, just suck it in. And he hit it like that. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, what the hell was that? Well, that's what this tastes like. The shatter tastes like doing, it's like, thank you very much. I'll see you in a half hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, who remembers hot knives? I mean, Raptor, this is probably before your day, I'm afraid to say. But I mean, yeah, hold your hand up if you were born before the 80s and remember hot knives. Oh, yeah. That's the original dab rig, my friend. A glass milk bottle at the bottom. Because in England, they used to deliver milk. And we as students used to duck out in the morning. Milk bottles used to be left on people's doorsteps. Quickly duck out, grab a bottle of milk from down the road, or a few bottles of milk, one from a few doors down.
I was doing hot knives in junior high.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we don't have shit. Oh, okay, we got a water bottle. We're in the kitchen. We're good.
Yeah, and what you used to do is you used to take like a 10p coin and you would drop it into the milk bottle and then just whiz it around. You just sit there and just spin the coin around the bottle and just go round and round and round, and it would just wear through, and just the bottom of the milk bottle would drop off, and there you had your.
I do sit at my stove, so
that's hilarious. You doing a hot knife?
I sit at my stove, and here's my refrigerator. You guys got to get up to go do all that, and I only got to walk 5 foot to piss. So,
ladies and gentlemen, we now watch how a hot knife is done. Yeah, you're gonna have to move.
Yeah, I want to see this. I've never actually. I don't recall ever actually having done a hot knife, except with hash.
Actually, not so bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's generally how it's done. Except
I think I did it once with a piece of Moroccan hash, and then normally we would use the upside down glass method, where you burn it into an upside down glass and then just suck it out of the glass.
Yeah, no,
that's how we used to do hash. That's how we used to do hash. You put it on the end of a needle through a coaster, through a beer coaster, and
put it under a glass in a hotel room.
That's how we did it when I was in the military in Germany.
So that's how we used to do hot knives. Is you'd heat them up in the propane thing, and then you would take a ball of like squidgy black, which was the really good Moroccan hash.
Squidgy black.
Interesting. It was squidgy, and it was squidgy, and it was black. So it was
interesting.
Squidgy black. Or red seal, I think, was usually because there would be a red seal on the packaging.
Use the grate of your stove. You put these underneath the grate. And you want a blue flame. You don't want none of that red shit. You don't need none of that red stuff. Propane is burning hottest when it's all blue.
This is really cool. This is kind of old school, man. This is hilarious. Thanks for doing that, Rez.
And then we used to just drop the little ball of hash on it, squeeze the two together. You needed 2 people to do it when we did it.
I'm going to do an old school. Let's see. I think I got something that's moist enough. They got to get red. They got to get hot red. They got to get.
I like Richard D's idea of using 2 spoons. That way it gets trapped in the middle and you don't have to risk it. Because the one thing I would think about is if it liquefies anything, you could have that running off or dripping onto the floor or something. But I really like Richard's idea of using 2 spoons. That's fucking brilliant, dude.
And just so that for everybody out there, make sure you're using stainless only. Don't get a piece of tin. Don't use a piece of tin.
Well, yeah, don't use a piece of tin. But yeah, high carbon steel would be more.
Well, titanium. I mean, I don't know anybody has titanium or.
I'm always a little cautious.
If you got titanium knives in your house, then you're pretty special.
Oh, Pete coming in with the carbon nano to fucking spoon.
Well, no, just making knives and things like that. You're like, I'm a little like seeing dab needles
Oh,
and
of
that made
course.
out of certain
Yeah.
metals. I'm like, whoa, I wouldn't be heating
Yeah.
that up.
There's a reason we call something surgical steel.
Yes.
But they also don't heat surgical steel up and breathe in the fumes off it. You know, it's
Well, but they
surgical
do
steel is
sterilize it
cold.
with heat.
Yeah, but you don't breathe in the fumes. That's the point. It's like avoid the fumes from some of these metals when they get burned.
Surgical steel should be completely non-off-gassing, just like when we use 304 stainless for food products. That should not be able to off-gas.
Right. There
Unless
shouldn't
it's
be
melting.
anything in there. Yeah. Exactly. It would
all
need
my
to get to
Chinese-
its base.
This is Taiwan. All my Chinese steel went to the recycling. Yeah, I mean that's what they built.
Taiwan is going to argue that. Well, China's going to argue that Taiwan is part of China. So
yeah,
Taiwan at that point was
semantics.
saying, we make our stuff a little better than you do.
So
Those
Pete,
aren't
you're
hot
trying
enough.
to tell me that I need titanium spoons?
There you go.
Just be careful
Yeah.
of the metals that you use. Just I mean,
Of course.
genuinely be careful.
That's good. That's good advice. I was just saying.
I can get you made. I can get you anything made out of that stuff milled if you want bulk. My nephew, I mean, he made his own design for making a Keith pallets, pucks for making Keith pucks. He made a design and I asked him to patent it. He said, "I'm not patenting it." He said, "I don't do that crap." He said, "I want the design out there so anybody can make it." But he's the one that they're not doing it anymore. They shut the company down.
Rez, do you have a temperature gun?
No.
No, old school. You
That
don't
would
got
be
a temperature
perfect,
gun,
yeah.
dude. You go by the color, the glow.
Yeah, my
Yeah, it's got a
eyes.
glow.
The fuck?
That's
Yeah. It's my temp
I'd
gun.
see, full plants makes a good point though. Burnt spoons around the house is a lot more dodgy looking than burnt knives. What was it? What was the Trent Reznor album? Was it Trent Reznor that did it? The Dark Side of the Spoon.
Oh, how's that going, Rez?
That's that one. Oh, it's going good. It was clear. It was. You guys saw it. It was
What
milky.
is that?
That's a bud.
In what?
Water.
Just in
RO
water.
Yeah, it's water cured. You change the water every day. And I used RO. Now I've upped the size of the container. It was in a little tiny half pint one that you get like the eighths in. The eighths come in the glass jars. So I upped it to this one yesterday to see if the volume of water would increase more chlorophyll coming out. But I only had green the one time. I haven't gotten any more green.
It should only come out that first time. It should extract very quickly.
Well, check this out. Remember I've been talking about the weed I messed up on that first grow and I didn't get right on the cure? I took about an ounce of that and put it into water. And for the first 2 days, solid brown.
Yep. That's the chlorophyll breaking down.
Some of that was those nasty brown leaves I left in there, right?
Yeah.
Look at this.
And they were the whole ones holding a lot of that chlorophyll too.
Don't forget those knives, dude.
Changes. I know.
Yeah.
These are 4 changes. Look, 4 changes.
I like it.
of the water.
We're gonna watch somebody burn their hands. Be careful.
Thanks for doing the experiment, Rez. I appreciate that,
man,
buddy.
they're still cold up here, Pete.
All right,
They're cold
cool.
all the way down to here.
I like.
So, have you smelled this yet? Have you pulled it out to sniff it? Does it smell any better?
This one.
Yeah. Have you
This
sniffed
one
it?
here, I haven't. No, it's still because it smelled like spoiled hay, but not moldy.
Are you willing to drink some of that water and tell me what it tastes like?
Shots.
It tastes like burning.
I'm
wanna
almost
know.
53. I have passed those days. I'm going to let you do that and watch. I will even give you the weed if need be. But I ain't doing it, bud. No, I ain't. Here, this is some of that Marley stuff I had from Marley's Best brand that gut was too dry. I thought, but it tastes like
Blades are gonna be so hot in a minute.
So you over dried it, and now you're rehydrating it in the water, correct? That was the base. What you said was wrong with it?
No, this one here. No, this was yeah, no. I didn't dry it well enough. It spoiled because the temperature spiked in my camper one day. The power went off. All right, so here's the old school. And I'm just trying to recover it from. I was just gonna cook it, right? Make sure you just take a little bowl of good sticky stuff. And now, if you got shitweed, you're not going to be able to do this. You got to have something that's like this. It's like 30%. Now you don't have to have 30%.
What's the name?
Okay, so what you do is, don't worry about it. You pick the knives up. You take one knife. You tap it on it. It picks it up, and you put them together.
Toke it up, man.
Hey, toke it up.
Watch the beard.
Here, man.
Yeah.
You take a second here.
Hey, it's hot, man. It's hot.
Come on, man. You're wasting it, damn it. Wasting it, you son of a bitch.
And there you go, ladies and gents. Old school hot knives. And that's what you do when you don't have a dab rig.
Yeah, man. You can do that. Man, I don't know if I would do that with a piece of shatter, because as soon as you put that shatter on there, it'd be gone.
You got to drop it on. That's when you need to have the bottle. That's when you have the bottle over it. So when you
let's try something.
Tap it goes straight up the bottle.
Oh, you got me.
Or
Okay,
a pair of shoes in the chat.
Oh, fuck. Got people drinking cob juice, doing hot knives.
Why not?
Okay. Painted lady on there. Was she
I was
on
about
there?
to say, yeah, painted lady's missing out on all the fun now. She was ready for the Fear Factor session.
Look at that. Yeah, so it still smells a little bit like it did, like it's molded hay. Really good. I think it's still too toxic to drink. But a lot of that in there, all that floating around is red hairs. It was so scary seeing him pull on my car, crying. This was crumpets bred by 42. Yeah, so I ruined it.
So next week we're gonna have somebody do the gravity bong. Those are good fun.
Yep.
I've seen those.
What am I doing here? You said you gotta drop
Rez
it
is
on.
like, wait, I got it in my fridge. Hold on.
Kickstand.
What am I gonna have? What am I doing next week? What are we doing? Duckweed lost power, I believe.
Yeah, I saw he was still in chat. I thought I'd just check and
see. Is there a
see.
hurricane down there? Is there a hurricane down there? Tropical storm?
Whole slab.
What are you putting on there now, Rez? A piece of wax?
I'm gonna try some of the shatter.
All of
if I can get it to hit
all of it.
I was just worried that it would liquefy and run.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
This is where I think Richard's spoon technique would really pay off potentially.
That's what I was just gonna say.
That just reminds me too much of a heroin addict.
You're gonna have to drop it onto the top of the spoon.
If you are a heroin addict, do not watch this part of the
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's just cannabis. It's perfectly safe.
We would rather have you do this than we would have you have to do any opiates.
Yep.
Because if you take a good couple hits of this, you'll pretty much feel the same. If you take some of this RSO that I have, you won't have to worry about any pain because you will be sleeping within a half an hour.
Yeah, I remember that.
Quickly, dude.
I can't take that again. I mean, if I take that when the show starts, I'm out. I'm out. 2 hours later, I'm going.
Yeah, that was funny.
All right, here we go. We got 2 hot knives, and I got to make it hit the knife. This should be fun.
Smack the knife.
You're gonna have to drop it on the knife and then grab the other one.
Yeah.
Man, you guys thought I was ballsy.
Oh, I've done some stupid shit in my life. Oh shit! See,
that's what I was
first of the stupid shit.
Yeah.
Let's try this instead. Oh, No.
Just gonna liquefy, bro.
Oh no!
Oh,
Hey, you never know till you try. Right?
oh, we knew.
Yeah. And knowing is half the battle.
Hey,
G.I. Joe.
I didn't know though.
Yeah.
See, you've been to Mount Everest and seen it, but I've never been, so I still have to climb the mountain. Aha.
I'm watching the wrong
See,
video.
there's two sides of that story. You know
Skin
what I mean?
smoke, yeah. How's that burnt flesh terps doing?
I'm gonna try something different here. Hold on. Let's see if I can get it on here.
There you go.
There you
Ah,
go.
Holy
nice.
shit.
Yeah, you made a
Nice.
bead. You made a
There
bead.
we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, nice. Much
Well
better.
done, Russ.
Yeah.
Whatever
Don't ever
snake.
say you can't be done.
Yeah.
Oh, that tastes, man.
Not
Now
that
that
way
tastes
where you burn your
pure. That
fingers.
tastes delicious.
Oh, you've just bottomed out the glass market and just really spiked the metal knife market.
Yeah, looks like you don't
I
need
tell
any
you,
shitty
well,
fucking plastic tubes.
Yeah, who
Straws.
needs a $400 or a $4,000 glass rig anymore?
I just called my broker before we got on here.
You know, I don't have a glass rig like that. Like, I can't understand keeping something that expensive around when you have the option to just do a hot knife.
Sorry, that was good. Holy shit! The second hit was better.
Hey,
Screw dab rigs.
Look, once it melts on the knife, all you got to do is put it back over it, and it automatically does it. So if you coat this, if you coat your knife, hey, oh, there you go. There's a market to sell
like a
coated
weed
knives.
knife, coated knives.
Pre-coated
There goes
spoons.
the market. There goes the market. Sorry, glass guys.
Yeah, sorry.
That next win again.
The simplest solution is often the best.
That's always my philosophy.
And it
Wow,
clearly worked.
shit, That's some good weed too, man. That's fucking funny weed. Okay.
Good.
I gotta get off
Right,
here.
all right. Right, daddy.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Don't try this at home, kids.
No kids trying that at home. 21 and over. But all you adults, you should
Go
try
for
this.
it. Yeah.
You're killing me, bro.
We get Biden.
I gotta get my-
We get Biden and Trump in a room doing a dab. I would love to see that.
I just watched so much smoke escape, and it hurt my soul.
There you go. There's how you can eliminate the national debt. A one-time pay-per-view. Every household can buy it. The president doing a dab in the Oval Office. Sorry.
Well, it clearly worked, I must say. But I see, Four Plants is bringing up some like old school techniques here. We've got like a lung. Has anybody remember doing lungs or have done a lung? I remember doing them.
A lung?
A lung. So you take like a 2-liter plastic Coke bottle, you cut the bottom off, and you put you tape a plastic bag onto the end of the Coke bottle, and then you push the plastic bag up inside the Coke bottle, so it's all the way in, and then you just sit there and you just blow, just like hit blow, just to fill the whole thing up with smoke, and then you can go and just keep recycling it over and over again so that you get absolutely everything out of it. And that, I think there's a degree of hyperventilation that kicks in.
Yeah, it sounds like oxygen deprivation.
But it works really well. It's like the old school, again. Or you could, another way of doing it, I guess maybe what they're thinking is you can put a bowl on the top of the bottle and
gravity bong.
You stick your hand inside, so like it's a gravity bong without the water, and you can stick your hand and pull the bag slowly out of the Coke bottle, and that creates the vacuum that pulls it through.
Okay.
Get it.
So the best way to do this, Rez, you take a nail with a big head, you nail it into a board, you take a bottle, you cut the bottom out, you put it over the nail, you cut a hole in the side so you can dab on top of the nail. You heat the nail up, you put the bottle on, you put your dab through the hole, you put it on the nail, and you inhale through the top of the bottle.
I don't think you want to be. You gotta have the right. You're gonna need to have a stainless nail or a titanium nail. Or,
obviously
Bottle
not gonna
tokes.
don't go using copper staples.
well, you gave me an idea. Anybody want to buy a titanium nail? I can make a run of them on a whole machine. They're gonna have to be cheap though.
No, they're not.
But I know the person who has the machine in their basement.
I just want to give a quick shout.
Go for D.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Smash. Happy birthday, Smash.
Look, these are still
Hey, happy birthday, buddy.
Thanks,
Look,
guys.
they're still on the stove. Pete?
Yeah. Nice.
Look, I'm not burning either.
Yeah, seriously, happy birthday.
No, cool.
Oh, happy birthday, Schmidt.
Yeah, happy birthday, man.
Yeah, normally I would always recommend that you put them like that going in. If you don't, what you've got is a metal bar that they're sitting underneath that's dissipating a huge amount of that heat. But if they're just over a bare flame, have the handles pointing down and the rest of it pointing up.
That's half the fun. Come on.
Yeah.
They gotta find that stuff.
It's a game we play around the barbecue with the barbecue tongs. Is it hot or not?
Thermodynamic. It's thermodynamic. So I want to answer the questions that you guys were arguing about the last 2 times on the show. The boxing glove. If you don't have the sun, I agree with Pete. If you don't have the sun, you don't have heat.
Well, turn off the lights in your room now, and those knife blades are glowing red hot, and you can see it. And that's because it's emitting light in the visible spectrum. But anyway, that's the energy is light
creates the heat. That's why it's dark at nighttime, because the sun is on the other side.
Anyway, I'm sweating.
Full titanium exhaust. That's not going to be cheap. I actually saw at it was like a weird like a flea market, but antiques market, flea market. Anything goes market, more to the case, and there they actually had from Boeing engines the heat shields, which are these big titanium heat shields, but they make these. This company there was taking these old decommissioned engine heat shield things because they're this weird dome shape and turning them into pizza ovens because they're almost like the perfect shape to start with. They're like 10 grand. You go like, who the fuck is paying 10 grand for a pizza oven? And it goes, yeah, because do you know how much the raw, we're charging 10 grand for it. When Boeing built this damn thing, that component was probably about 40, 50 grand new for that piece of metal. It's like insane how expensive it gets.
Well, and if you've ever researched the prices for pizza ovens like that, for domed pizza ovens, like wood-fired pizza ovens, that's cheap.
Yeah.
Any pizza oven, really, like, even some of the metal ones get up there in price.
If anyone out there is really looking for a good pizza oven at a good price, look for a Baker's Pride 921. That's probably one of the better models and makes you can find out there. It'll hit about 8,000 BTUs on the deck for a pizza, which is what you need to really do fast, good turnover on a pizza. You can always do the Blodgett 1000 series. That's common in the US too, but then you have to overclock the burner so you'll get your 8,000 BTUs per square foot. I'm a pizza nerd.
We just got a pizza shop in town, and it's like the thin style New York pizza. It's so good.
If I could be in the restaurant business and work in a restaurant again, I would own a pizza shop. I almost did open one. I worked at a couple. I like pizza shops.
If you need a hand, give me a holler. I like to be helpful.
I'd love to play around with some titanium on knives and make Damascus titanium, or forge welding titanium is actually what the proper name for it.
Anybody wants a knife? I got a friend in Maryland that makes them really nice.
Like that stuff's crazy. How they stack it.
Just this piece here. Just that clip. That's like $50. Just that clip. It's ridiculous how much this shit goes for.
$50.
But this would be nice. That's a nice cranberry.
Yeah, see, I'm not looking at it when I'm
I've
using
had the
it. Though.
worst
That's the thing. Yeah, I want black with a sharp
Tricky
blade.
stuff to make.
Right.
And then this is down to the heat treatment. And when you heat it, it blues out like this, which is how you do the titanium stuff with the.
Yeah, you'll see it on exhaust sometimes. It's the titanium tips. It's got that bluish color. It's the heating technique.
But it depends what temperature you heat it to, which is the really cool thing about metallurgy is that specific temperatures produce specific colors. So you know how hot the metal is based on the color that it's achieved. So what's really nice, you can do this like golden corn color on a blade by when you heat treat it and tempering it, you hold it at 120 degrees Celsius. And you get this like corn gold color that appears on the whole blade. And it just polishes off. It comes off straight away, but that's how you can tell how hot the blade has gotten to when you're doing the heat treating. You go by the color.
A Damascus blade is nice.
Yeah, some of this custom stuff is just nuts. I would love to have a forge. I just do stock removal.
It's so funny. I've been thinking about that same shit, Pete. Just building one out back to make knives.
Stock removal is really good. I mean, it's a good way of getting into it. And you make some amazing blades. Well, I mean, I personally think you can make some amazing blades.
And a forge, like if you want to make a forge, they're fairly simple and fairly cheap if you're going to use coal. The only time you actually got to do any kind of work ahead of time, or charcoal, the only time you actually got to build something is if you're going to use a propane forge. And even then it kind of helps to buy something. But if you just wanted to like play around in your back garden, if your neighbors aren't going to yell about you having a coal fire in your backyard and a little tiny barbecue, then you're fine.
Yeah, that really is the big issue. It's a dang, 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 dang. It's a noisy pastime, and if you're in a residential area, you're not going to be popular. Then again, nobody's going to go around and tell the guy that's making knives to keep the noise down.
Yeah, exactly. Go, Rez, go.
I can't do it anymore, man.
Yo, Rez, I think I got this piece for $100.
What's that?
I got this for $100.
Nice.
So you don't need to spend a ton of money to get a rig.
No, you absolutely don't.
Man,
And $199.
Knife set, you and a bunch of your neighbors can have some.
In the end, who cares? It's he can do whatever he wants with his stuff.
No, I would like to have a nice piece of glass. I mean, I really would.
That's what amazed me about like Pedro when I met him in January, this year. Fuck, the last time one could actually be traveling, and not knowing if people are regular dab heads or not, just hands over like God knows how many $1,000 dab rig it is, and here you go, have a hit. You're like, I can see myself falling through the table, with $4,000 worth of glass. Going, sorry, mate.
I've been looking at
first time dabber.
Look, I paid $20. It's dirty right now, and he's clean today. I paid $22 for this buzz, and I can tell you what, if a bong can't hold up to what this bong can hold up to, I don't want it, because I've dropped this thing 100 times from this distance to the floor, and it ain't broke yet.
I've been looking at like really expensive pieces, bro. A Derby Dragon. This shit's like art, though. It really does go up in price and stuff. Like it's becoming an art form.
Well, yeah, I mean, glass blowing is an art. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Sorry, D.
No, it's okay.
I
was gonna say,
right? So I used to have a huge house.
Rez, D was
hang
just saying
on.
something. Rez.
Go for it, D.
oh no, I was just gonna say that, and a lot of the art pieces now, like the water pieces, they get sold back and forth to people. I've seen Bubble Man buy a piece from, say, Joe Blow. He's a really good guy, and then he'll buy it back, and it goes backward. Then it'll go say to this other guy, and then it goes back to Bubble Man or whatever. It's crazy sometimes. They're mad expensive. You're right.
I
whoever-
see something
I think it was
else.
Raptor that just said that. Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Huh.
this is the result of, I mean, this is just plain high carbon steel, but heat treated ever so slightly differently.
That's
And
beautiful.
one gives up this gold color, the other one does the bluing. This is a set of steak knives I made for my
Oh yeah.
father. Yeah, that was a
My friend
complicated
Taylor,
handle
he
to
uses
make.
those
Dude,
spots.
show him that French knife pair because that is something I would totally use as a professional chef. Man, your
like
French
that.
knife pair is really good.
I wouldn't consider my professional, but I have chef knives.
But remember, I don't have pictures of it on here,
I
unfortunately.
like a good blade, man.
But this one had like, this was from the heat treatment, and it's got an alien face in the
Nice.
dagger, and that was just from the way the coals burned.
You made
while
that?
it was, yeah. These are mine.
Now you got to get into lasering and engraving the blade itself.
Yeah, no, I don't see. Not on that one. I'm
Which
trying to remember
was I thinking?
which other one I've got more than one account. It's
What
like,
the hell is it called? What's it called when they it's like they tap out a design. It's not etching.
engraving.
Engraving, yeah, engraving, like actual engraving when they're using like a hammer and it's hand done is really nice. I've seen some
And
really
that's
nice.
a boating one.
That's
Nice.
Oh,
I like the case too. That's cool.
Yeah, I made that one for my mom on a yacht, so it all seals up.
Nice.
She's got a hanging. Trying to see if these are the ones that you were talking about, GMF. Those are the
Fancy.
wow.
the carving
What's
knives.
I like how you called that a yacht. Would you say that was 20-some foot?
28 feet. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's the handle on the carving knives.
Polish.
Very nice.
What wood's that?
wood, dude.
I think it's some burl wood. I can't remember exactly what it is. I got off my sister's husband's father. There we go.
Do you use many files? Have you used many files?
Yeah, I mean, and that's how simple it goes. I mean, here it is. That's heat treating it in just in cold, just to get it up to, it's no longer magnetic, and then you dunk it in oil to harden it. Yeah, actually, the one thing you go through the most of is sandpaper. Oddly enough, you really go through.
No, I'm
lot
talking
of
about
sandpaper.
using old files.
Oh, you mean
old
to make
files
to make knives out of old files? No, I haven't done that. I buy. This is 3 mil thick, 3 to 4 mil thick bar stock, so it's ground flat, 4 mils by. It's about 5, so it's 3 mil, 30 mils wide. However long I need to get it, and then I sketch out the shape of the blade that I want, and then I just sit there and angle grinder, remove as much as I can as quickly as I can, and then do the rest with hand files and slowly go away at it. I've got a belt sander, but actually doing it by hand, it takes a long time, but you can get a nice. The thing about using a belt sander is it chews a lot of material off really quickly, so it's great for getting shit done, but you can chew off way too much, way too quickly as well. It's like put too much pressure on and whoop, the whole thing's gone. So the slightly lighter grain is.
Yeah, these little.
Hey, Mr. Bagseed.
How's it going?
Good. And yourself, buddy?
Good, man. Just trimming. back at it.
Hey, since we're showing off knives, this is my workhorse. This is my Forstner. I've had this one since culinary school. So this is done probably by now 5,000 to 10,000 some odd whole chickens, a few whole animals. And you can see like the steel does eventually wear down and it does eventually get beat up quite a bit.
Nice. How many inches is that? Was that 10 inch?
Yes, that's a standard. This one's a 12. Just because I got a little beefier hand, so I like to have the weight, especially if I'm going to be cutting all day. And then of course a French knife, the reason you have the bolster on it is 9 times out of 10, you're never going to hold it like that. You're going to hold it with your fingers pinched onto the bolster. That's how you get real control with the French knife.
I remember I was watching like a master. He had his knife for like 20 years and throughout sharpening it and the lifetime he's had it his whole. It was like it started out like this big and ended up like this big.
Yep.
I mean, I've got pocket knives that the blades now kind of curvature to it from the way it's been sharpened. And when you're doing it with your whetstones, if you're using whetstones for doing it, you've got to keep reprofiling them so that they go flat again. Otherwise, they get a curve fairly quickly. They build a curve up into them actually. And then of course we get into the different angles of the bevel. So your Japanese knives, you need to sharpen at about a 15-degree angle on the bevel. They want really thin, sharp edges to them. Western chef's knives have a 25-degree to 35-degree bevel on the edge, so it's a much more aggressive bevel, but means you don't have to sharpen it as often. It will stay sharp for longer. The Japanese knives are really thin, super sharp. But you have to sharpen them more often as a result.
And
they're in a constant state of sharpening. Don't they constantly sharpen at a sushi place? Aren't you using your steel all the time?
The steel doesn't sharpen. The steel just picks the blade edge up. So a steel doesn't actually have the hardness necessary to sharpen it. What a steel is going to do is actually just take the burrs out of the edge and smooth that edge line for you. But if you need to sharpen it, you have to go to something with more body to it, with more hardness than a steel.
Yeah, it was always nice when the knife sharpener came in and gave you a new set and said, "I'll be back." He probably walked out of that place going, "That boy just destroyed them knives."
And it makes such a difference when you have sharp knives. It makes fewer injuries for a start. I mean, and making knives, you cut yourself a good few times, and the worst injuries have been actually, I'd say the worst injury was definitely from cutting a squash. Be careful with those things, man, because you try to get through that skin, and next minute you just give it all, and the blade just goes straight through and kind of clean through your finger at the same time. And you're like, oh shit, that was a bit aggressive. But yeah, sharp knives are so nice to use. It makes such a difference.
So dangerous.
They are, but it makes like when you really are like cooking or like it makes your life easier to have a sharper knife.
And I trade them.
Butcher's glove, but where it's like a steel mesh.
Yep.
If you're really
Cut-proof
processing
gloves.
a lot of meat, just like Genetic Memory Farms was saying, that's a good investment. I need to invest in that myself because I've had a couple close calls. I've never had stitches yet, but hey man, a sharp knife is meant to cut meat. We're nothing but bags of meat.
Now, interestingly enough, in a butchery, the most common, like really dangerous injury they have, because they will cut down like this, and it's when they miss or slip and they go straight into their thigh, and they can hit a carotid artery in your thigh because of the action that they're taking, the way they're working with it. That's like a nasty common injury. But I trade my knives for tattoo ink. I mean, that works with the tattooist, and we do it on. He's like, how many hours did it take you to make that knife? And I'll tell him how many hours, and we go, all right, so now we'll work out how many hours of ink we're going to get for hours put in.
Damn, I need to do something like that.
Barter, I like bartering.
And
some ink.
I'll say Four Plants made a very good point in the chat. If you are going to be messing with knives, you are going to be doing a lot of kitchen work, learn proper cutting technique. So whenever we cut, we always cut against our own hand. So whenever I dice anything, these knuckles get curved and put against the blade so that as I move this up and down, there's no chance of me taking off a fingertip, but I can literally dice onions to an amancé. I can do whatever I want, but it really comes down to proper technique. You hold it at the bolster so you have control, curl your fingers in and put them against the knife blade. That way you always know where they're at. You know they're not underneath the knife.
It's like a guide. It's like your guide. You'll notice when people, you'll start doing it and you'll be really slow and you'll be like, oh, why can't I go fast? But once you learn, you'll get it down and you'll be able to go really like it. Once you get it down and you get the technique, you're chopping, it's so much easier.
And for sharpening, this is what I use. I use, actually,
I would tell somebody, okay, good. I would tell somebody for when cutting, and most people can say this is would probably say this is true for something in their life. Make sure your mind is on just the cutting, doing the whole process of cutting. Don't let your mind drift to the last thing you were doing or what you might not have done, because that's when you're going to cut yourself. Right? You have to be in the moment of the cut. You have to be with that piece. You have to be thinking about it hitting your skin all the time, because you are. When you're cutting something, if you're wanting to cut a carrot up, or and you're going from different textures and back and forth, because one thing cuts easy, the other one cuts harder, so you're changing. So I just tell people, stay in it. Think that you might be getting hurt. If you have that, I could cut myself, I better pay attention. I think is the best, because I've cut myself many times with knives, and I know for a fact it's always when I think about something else, when I go to something else that I want to.
You got to pay attention to what you're doing for sure.
But funny you're on the topic.
This I can highly recommend as a knife sharpening system. The Lansky one, really good, and this is probably the kit to go with it. These are from rough all the way down to this. You can't feel anything on this one. It feels smooth to the touch. And then get their lapping one, which is the leather, well, the stropping one, which is a leather one, and then you've got a blade that you can shave with by the time you finished.
How do you do your? I've never looked into doing a serrated.
You need to do serrated blades. You need to get where they got specific stones for doing serrated edges with.
That's the catch. Yeah.
So like these one, hang on, where's one? I saw one earlier that they were showing. It was for.
I've had this cut coat.
There you go.
That was in my mom's set for years. I really don't want to send it back, so they can send me a new one.
So you see the way that's got a sharp edge to it. So it depends the kind of serration you've got. If it's that sharp serrated edge, then you use this kind of one that comes to a fine point, because you can get it between the serrations. And then they do a rounded one as well, which is for more like scalloped.
Looks like a pole.
Like this one here. So it's like a scalloped serration is what that would work very well on.
Damn, Pete, I might need a knife someday.
They ain't cheap. I'll warn you now.
Good knife's never cheap, though. You know what I mean? A good knife's never cheap.
Oh, no, exactly. And I mean, it's the hours that you put into making it. For me to make a handmade knife probably takes about 60 hours to make one knife, and about 40 of those hours are just on polishing the blade up. That takes forever to do, and that's what you're paying for.
You guys see the serrations on this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a standard European style bread knife, and you'll notice the serrations when I go to sharpen this one. You can see it's a little uneven because I actually sharpen each serration by hand with a little stick file. Because then when you flip it over, this side is completely flat. So this is only ever sharpened on one side. Yeah, and that's what makes it something you can do by hand.
And that's a scallop serration. So that's where you need to use the rounded stones.
Yep.
What you've got there, Rez, is more of a. I'm gonna hold it up a bit closer, but that looks a bit more of an aggressive edge.
Yeah, this is for bread. This is a bread knife.
This is a bread knife.
That's not a knife.
That's not a knife, mate. Yeah, I don't even have any. I mean, I've only got one of my blades still. I mean, I've only got one.
Jesus,
like the first one I made. All the others are all given away or traded away. I haven't kept any of them. It's a bit annoying.
Got my trusted box cutter. Love this.
Always good.
You were going to ask something, Smashed. Was there a question you had?
Oh, no. I just said I got a straight razor as a tattoo. Right here.
I've got a mate who sharpens straight razors, and that's a whole different technique. He sits down with the, once he's got the edge to where he thinks it needs to be, then it's out come the eyeglasses and, under a microscope almost to make sure that there's no roughness to the edge. It's complete. You're using opal. No, what they uses?
I don't remember.
I forget the
couldn't
name,
tell
type
you.
of stone. But you're at sort of like the 20,000 grit. It feels like glass, and it just you don't want any burrs on that edge whatsoever.
Is that a Gerber?
Yeah, man.
I knew it. I used to have that same knife. They sell them at Walmart. It was really nice, actually.
Who
See,
are
that would
you,
be
Rez
illegal.
Rambo?
What's that?
Who do you think you are, Rez Rambo? Jeez, man.
Oh,
Well, I did join the army right after I saw that.
GMF, I was saying, I was watching something today on knives, actually, because like
No, I'm not.
I like cooking and stuff, and the guy was designing something where you just put it like it's a magnet that you put on the blade of a knife when you're sharpening it, and it gives you the perfect angle with a little light indicator. When it's just green, it's good to sharpen. When it's red, you gotta figure out the angle more. It was a good idea. It was a good idea for people just learning how to sharpen knives. I was thinking.
The nice thing about that kit that I was showing is it comes with a thing it holds the blade at a fixed at right angles, and then on the stand on both sides it's got slots that the arm goes through that holds the sharpening stone at a fixed 15 degree or whatever angle you want to hold it at. And so you get this consistent edge all the way down, grind down the blade on both sides, and that's what's really difficult to achieve with a whetstone until you've done it thousands and thousands of times, literally, is be able to have that, understand how to hold the blade, and just you can feel it when you're doing it. You kind of feel where that primary bevel edge is, and you can hold it there. But it takes a lot of practice to get that right. I think you can really wreck it with a whetstone if you don't know what you're doing. I would highly recommend something like one of those systems that holds the blade and everything's done at a fixed angle. So Bagseat, sorry, remind me, you're from New Zealand. Are you from New Zealand?
No, I'm from the United States. Yeah.
Why did I think New Zealand? What the fuck?
I know
No, that's Cherbro and Stony.
Oh, right.
I know someone who lives in Auckland.
Okay.
Out there, I don't know, yeah. So.
Yeah, no.
What you trimming?
This is some White Widow, actually. Yeah, this is one of my plants that I'm trying to get done, and then I got two more to get done. So I'm trying to get them all into jars, but then I ran out of jars, so I had to go get jars today. And
How's it smell in the White Widow?
You what?
How's this smell in the White Widow?
It's really good, man. I haven't had like actual White Widow in a while, so I really couldn't tell you like what the profile is, but it smells pretty. I don't really know even how to explain it in the right way. I guess.
I got some growing. That's why I'm asking.
What's it smell like, Rez?
Old school strain.
Yeah, I don't know what. How would you guys describe a White Widow? And I guess I could say that's what I kind of get at, but I don't know. It's like
I just remember it as getting me.
I always say sweet. We said this before. I say sweet, but Raptors like like well, what kind of sweet? Because there's different kinds or whatnot. So it's like it's a little funky too, I guess.
Yeah, I always get the fruity funk.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like
I think the last time I smoked. The last time I smoked White Widow was in Amsterdam 20 years ago. Yeah, it must be about 20 years ago, and we popped out. We had my eldest daughter with me at the time. She was about 3 months old, and the landlady at the place that we had rented said, "Oh, I'll babysit for you if you want to go out for the night." And we went, "Yeah, okay, fine."
Sounds
Shot
good.
off to the local coffee shop. Went down the list. Oh, White Widow, that's got a bit of a reputation, and thank you very much.
I'm seeing that a lot lately, White Widow.
The ones I've been seeing have a lot of the like. It's trichomes, but it has a lot of the pistils, really white pistils everywhere, more than normal. Is the picture I got as.
And not very high on the THC side, but would get you fucked up.
12% CBD. Yeah, 12% THC. That's
There are things in plants that you don't get from
10 to 1.
THC, and we
Dude,
all
they have
know
seed
that. But
mints.
it's just like the damn market wants this high THC. But I know that shit I was smoking years ago wasn't that
Ain't got me
high.
super stoned.
But I really liked it. It had good flavors
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I always liked it
Yeah.
too.
You know?
That's why I was like, oh,
Yeah.
That's
what
why
is
I think
going
that
on there?
bag seed is that's the gold dust shit that's kicking around still. That if you can find, but it has to be old. You can't be taking bag seed from the last 15 years. It's got to be like pre Sensimilia Rush.
Right. 80s. It needs to be 80s, I would
Yeah.
say.
If it's Mexican brickweed, or that's the kind of shit you're looking for, right? It was just grown outdoors, and that's how it got pollinated. Is it was grown outdoors.
And I was still buying Mexican brick into the 2000s, like just
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, that is 20 years ago.
I have a feeler out, and I've had it out, man. I'm waiting to hear. I'm hoping a gentleman I know comes out when Maryland becomes legal with the seeds he had from the 70s and 80s. If they didn't get everything when he got busted in the 90s, but he used to go to Jamaica every year, and I know he's still growing fire, and I bet he's still growing the same fire. So I'm hoping he'll maybe we get rid of some of that stuff when he doesn't have to worry about getting arrested again. So, but right now I couldn't go up to his house and ask him for anything.
Why? Just because he's hot?
Well, because he got busted years ago, and he's just an old-timey guy, and he doesn't do it the same anymore, as far as I know. It was from the time he got busted in the early 90s. But he was one of those smart guys. He made sure that he put all his money he made in banks overseas. So he's just sitting back enjoying life on Swiss bank accounts, I guess.
What's that, Smash?
So they'll grow for themselves, and they'll never show anybody they'll grow. Their wives probably don't even see them.
What's that, Smashed?
They don't want anybody.
It's the new auto I started, or the new bonsai I started, I should say.
Hey, GMF.
What's up?
I did this with distilled water this time.
Neat.
Because what you said the other night, and it just smelled like sweet wet grass.
Neat.
Not just wet grass anymore. It smelled sweeter.
Neat.
So when I dumped it out.
Very good.
But you didn't taste it, right? Just making sure.
I got close, but I was thinking about you, and I was like, I'm just not there yet.
No, I got you. No, that's cool. Thanks for doing that, though, Rez. I really appreciate you carrying out the experiment for us all to see.
So there's another day. I haven't been taking pictures every day, but
so
the first day, and you guys saw it online, it was a little bit green that time. That's the only time it really had color. The second day it was green.
So you're 7 days in now?
No, it'll be 7 days on Monday.
And that's where you're going to stop?
I'm going to stop at the end on Monday night, and then I'm going to put it on the drying rack. So.
And then just wait till it's dry enough to smoke and try it out?
Yeah, but the thing about it is the stuff that I took to cut down at the same time is probably going to be drier faster.
Yo,
But it won't
I
be
hate
cured.
to say
It'll be
this.
dry.
I feel like the more you move it around and it bumps to the side, the more trichomes it's knocking off into the water.
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's room temperature water.
Well, if you want to see if Smashed is right, when you're done with it, let that water get cold. And if you see any oils or any waxes accumulate to the top, you'll know that Smash might be right.
Well, I'd like Smash. The interesting thing is, I thought that the first couple days, because there was stuff in the cloudy that looked like it could have been trichomes. But if I take this out of here, or I shine a flashlight, everything is still nice and trichomy. And right now, with that fresh distilled water, which this is what we'll really see, because the distilled should pull more stuff out, right?
Exactly.
So,
And
I
it's
just
not
shook
water
this around.
soluble, so you're fine. It's not going to dissolve into the water. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
break, it could break off into the water, which I think is the point that Smash's making. In which case, when it comes to the final pour it through a sieve, or a coffee
You'll
filter.
catch anything. Yeah, great idea. Paper coffee filter, and that way you'll see.
I'd run it through a coffee filter every time,
I have
honestly,
ground coffee filters. I'll try that.
just to see what the hell you're getting off of it.
Yeah. Again, thanks for doing the experiment, Rez.
You know the interesting thing in the small container, or even the big one here, when it was up in that small container and it couldn't move. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the perfect snow globe with no snow. You could have a little person standing and give it to your friend. You know, you could mount the people on the cap like this, and give them the bud for Christmas with it inside already cured at the end of the 7 days.
Put some keef in there for snow.
There you go.
There you go, man. There you go. I mean, it'd just be it's a cool gift idea, I think. I mean, because it did. Because when you shine a light on it, what would be really cool is you put an LED light that's waterproof
The
on
bottom.
the cap. Yeah, and gave it to them, and they come under when your kids come down for Christmas. There you go.
In case of emergency, break glass. In case of stress, break glass, dry.
Yeah, wait a second. So you got to wait for it to dry. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You got to be fair and give them a nice dry bud that they can use right away.
Next to it. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, guys, we're what's it, 3.5 hours in. I know there's other shows that are going to be going on today, so we don't want to hog all the time and give people a bit of a break. I think the next one coming on today is at the Buds, Portland Brews and Buds and whatnot, which is starting. I don't know what time. I don't know.
Hours 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Oh, 8 p.m. So it's still a while to go for you guys.
That's 4 your time, right, Pete?
Yeah, so it's
4 a.m.
4 and a bit hours away, 4.5 hours away.
That's why you don't.
Well, get some rest, Pete, and when you wake up, we'll be 3 hours in.
We'll summon you as VPD.
Or somebody will mention thermodynamics. Oh dear.
Yeah, we'll summon you. And you will awaken. No worries.
No, all good.
I guess I'll start off. I'm Raptor Grow. You can find me on the chronic table later on tonight, like we mentioned, 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and 11 Eastern Standard Time. I'll just keep it short with that. Thanks so much, Pete. It was a lot of fun. Have a good one, everyone. I'll see you all later.
Chronic table, that's under Fumi's thing, isn't it, though? It is under Fumi's channel.
Chronic table. Yeah, Fumidor and the Flavors is the channel.
I just always search Fumidor and the Flavors. That's the only way I can find it all.
Just search Fumidor and the Flavors, and
Yeah.
you'll find everything. And
About fish. That doesn't seem to track. There we go. That's apparently it. Put the link up in.
And then at 8:30,
there we go.
Everybody's on, jumping around. That Eagle normally comes on at 8:30.
Yeah, check out Eagle Gardens too. This way, a lot of variety. If you wanna, I don't know if he's doing an interview. I don't know who he's doing.
Yeah, he is. It's Canacrat today, I believe.
Canacrat, thank you.
Canacrat,
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah, Canacrat. I've seen him around in chat. That's awesome. I love getting to know everybody. It's so much fun.
And I think we're going to try and make some kind of effort somewhere along the line to sort of coordinate all the different shows so that they can kind of roll into each other. So like
instead
on a
of
Saturday
picking between two, having it be like, okay, split the difference. You get so many hours. We get so many hours. But everyone just follows
like
along.
A TV.
Yeah. Okay, like a
Exactly.
and understand what time different shows on if you want to watch them live, for instance. Yeah. And on that note, Rez, where can everybody find you, sir?
I am Resurrection Prophet, and that's where you'll find me on Instagram. And most of the time, you'll find me hanging out with Fumidor and the Flavors on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Saturday. If I get out of bed.
Excellent. And Smashed, where can everybody catch up with you, dude?
I'm on the same. Actually, you're looking at half of the cast of, or the panel of the Buds and Brews crew right here. So I'm on that panel with them. So I'll be over there. We're doing my birthday party over there tonight. I'm going to the brewery. You can find me at Smash Cannabis on Instagram.
Are you going to take us to the brewery tonight for your birthday?
I will. I mean, wait, no, no, because it starts too late. I'm going now. I'll video it though.
Now.
Yeah, take some video. It'd be nice
You'll
to see.
see the after effects of the visit to the brewery.
Nah, I'm only gonna grab a couple. I'm probably gonna grab stuff and bring it home, honestly. But the only way you can get it is you gotta
How
go
old
there.
are you today?
So.
How old are you?
31.
30?
31.
Happy
I broke
birthday.
31. I broke 30.
Youngster.
Way to go, bud.
Youngster.
All right, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you guys later.
Later, Smashed. Mr. Bagseed, where can everybody find you, sir?
You can find me. I have an Instagram. It's the same as my name, and then I have like my YouTube. But I follow everyone around, and we're always in Fumi's page, so I'm always around somewhere.
Excellent. And then and moving on quickly, GMF, buddy.
You just reminded me of something that I had one time. Wait. I'm sorry to completely derail the ending of the show, but Mr. Bagseed, do you know of something called Missouri Mule?
No.
It's something I used to get in the Ozarks back in the day. I was just curious. So anyway, I'll leave it alone. Sorry. Just I remember you were from that area. So
Yeah, I was born and raised here. Yeah. So,
nice.
I never heard of it.
All right. Well, I'm Genetic Memory Farms. I'm on Instagram, Genetic Memory Farms. If I can be helpful to anyone, if you got a question, if there's anything I can do to be helpful, let me know. That's really what I do. You'll catch me on Operation Grow, on Fumador and the Flavors. You'll catch me on Eagle's Garden. So thank you to Pete for helping create this community for all of us misfits to have a place to be. So, big props to Pete, big props to Fumador, big props to Eagle for making this a place where we can all actually, be ourselves and get to know each other. So catch me on Instagram if I can be helpful to anyone. And thank you very much, Pete, for all your effort.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, man. And
I'm
thanks
gonna
for doing
say
the cob
something right
experiment.
Look, wait a second. Don't move, Genetic Memory Farm. Stay still for a second. Look at his hat with the light. It looks like a dog.
Or a mushroom.
See it? Or a mushroom. There it is.
There you
Or
go.
a
There's the dog.
Oh yeah.
There's the
There's the dog.
mushroom.
Yeah. Now do the dog leaning backwards a little bit. To the left or the right. No, to the left or right. And there's a guy. See, there's a man right there. Look at, there's Abe Lincoln.
Those and kids, that's hot nose for you.
Yeah. Little blast from the past, kiddos. Thanks for doing that, Rez.
And D, where can everybody find you, sir?
Well, first I'd like to say thank you, Pete. It's been a blast being on your show for the very first time. You can find me on Instagram at dconley, and like everyone else here, you can find me on Fumador and the Flavors page, and I'll be on there later tonight. And then Pete, I'm sure, will be on there 4 hours later or something like that. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for stopping by, D.
Always, anytime, man.
And to everybody else in chat, you can find myself at Peel Grow Systems on Instagram or at Operation Grow 2019, and every Saturday here, and occasionally on various others with all the craziness going on. Anyway, see everybody. See everybody next week, where everything goes into flip and whatnot, and we go from there. Cheers, everyone.